Well, good morning, folks. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well. Twitter was acting up a little bit. I'm not sure what was going on, but if you could just give me a heads up, let me know. Tweet to me directly. Don't reply to the link to this Twitter space. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Audio okay? Can you see me? Can you hear me, rather? Thank you, Hank. All right, so a little bit of an impromptu, going through a little bit of withdrawal, not being able to talk about the markets. I fasted yesterday from social media, and I just wanted to sit down with you for a little bit before we open up at 9:30. So we'll talk for about 45 minutes or so, and then I'll close this one and turn my attention over to live price action. But the title of this one today is How to Avoid Failing in Trading. I have done this for a long time. I can tell you that the most painful lessons are the ones that I resisted most. And you probably will do that too. As a developing student, as a break even trader, a trader that maybe sometimes makes money and gets excited and then loses it. You're going to go through a lot of different pathways off the main well beaten path that I'm laying in front of you. You're all going to try to do your own little thing. That's normal. But it's important for you to realize that that impulse, that tendency, if you will, to want to be the guy, the gal, the person that trailblazes and makes it a new path. It branches off into a different direction, goes here, goes there. If you don't have the experience doing it, that's a gamble. It might be very adventurous, it might be fun, it might be one of those adrenaline rushes. And like the lottery, you might be able to pull something off. It just might happen. But most of the time it won't. That's a gamble. It might be very adventurous, it might be fun, it might be very adventurous, it might be fun, it might be one of those adrenaline rushes. And like the lottery, you might be able to pull something off. It just might happen. But most of the time it won't. So when I or anyone else that have gone through things and learned very valuable lessons, that my intentions are to spare you the pain and that monetary loss and the doubt, that, if you try to do it too quickly and you fail, it's real easy to say, I can't do this. I won't be able to do this. I'm not going to be profitable. Carl's going to be correct and I'll be working next to him in his cubicle for the rest of my life. And that's a lie. That's something that you're inviting to be your reality, but it isn't really your reality. It's just a result. It's a result of you doing the incorrect things and trying to skip over the necessary lessons. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I observed with my son when he was trying to do the Top Step combine, and talking to him, listening to his reasons for what he was trying to do and what he was wanting to overcome and what was the feelings afterwards. And I'm going to tell you what I counseled him to try to focus on and how to get over that, because now he has that scar tissue, that inability to have that fresh mindset where, yeah, you might lose money, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on all the upside and stay motivated. That's very difficult. That's very, very difficult to do when you fail, when you lose, when you blow an account, when you fail a combine, or if you get funded. And then once you get the funded account, you lose the plot, you lose focus, and you're so much in a hurry to just get to a level where you can ask for a payout because you need to feel like you've done something. Well, you have done something. You've grown, and you have to be able to appreciate those mile markers. And that's the number one thing you do is you log, you journal Every time you climb to a new plateau of understanding and growth in your understanding about yourself as a trader, because that's the factor. That's the thing you don't see coming. That's the thing that's going to hit you from the blind side. It's going to derail you. It's not me. It's not me holding back a lesson. It's not somebody else selling a course. It's not somebody else giving you a signal, because it's ultimately you that will undo you. And you don't see it coming. When you first start doing this, you don't appreciate the risk. You don't. Nobody. I didn't. I didn't. I did not. And nobody does. And the number one thing you have to understand to avoid failing in trading is that you have to have the mindset that this is for you. It's just like anything else. You're not gonna be 100%. And one of the lessons I taught, well, I taught on this many times, but when I'm not able to focus, if I'm having a period of time where I'm having a lot of different mood swings because of my bipolarism, it's hard for me to wrestle that. And sometimes because of real life, maybe a relationship issue that my wife and I are wrestling through because of a child, or maybe, like recently I lost one of my pets, and that is very hard for me. So I've been angry. I've been trying to replace that absence of not having her, and wanting to do something to make myself feel better. And going into the marketplace, you, I know that my mind isn't going to be clear, and I'm wanting to find a victim. I want to go out there and smash somebody upside the head and take something from them because I'm hurting. When you do these type of things, when you do these things in your trading or trying to pass combines, trying to push your funded account because maybe you're angry about missing an opportunity, or you're angry because you took a loss and you regret it because you knew in the back of your mind that conscience was telling you don't push the button. This isn't the best trade idea for you. And you're really not looking at your model. You're just looking at, oh, it might go up there, go down there. And many times, and send me a tweet with it, just simply a number one, if you've been there before, where you just felt like you had to do something, you got to get into a trade. It's not your model. You have no idea really what's going on, but you just think it's going to go up for about 5 to 10 handles, or maybe 10 to 15 pips. And that's really not your model, but you just want to get in there and do something. And if you win, well, it's just like having a scratch off in the lottery. Chances are you're not going to make any money, but what happens if it does? That'll really make my day good. That'll really brighten up my day. That would really lift my spirits, because, you know, the universe opened up its graciousness to me and gave me something I didn't deserve. And it's going to make me feel good. It won't. It won't. Because as soon as you do that, you're going to feel like, wow, maybe I'm on a roll today. Let me go do it again. And then you'll lose. That happens. So that's gambling. These are things that people do. And this is exactly what I did when I was younger, at 20 years old. I did these things impulsively because I was not happy where I was at in my life. I wanted to get back with my first wife. I wanted to have more money. I wanted to have a sense of accomplishment. And I didn't want to do the things I saw the rest of my family doing, which is work the rest of their life for nothing. And even though they had homes and they had automobiles, swimming pools, and they won vacations, these individuals have always been, since then and still today, the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. So I didn't want to be like them. So the way you avoid failing in trading is not looking at temporary setbacks as definitive failure. That's the problem with why everyone wants to avoid a losing trade, because you classify that as a failure. Well, not really, ICT. You're really making an extreme out of that. No, in your mind, exactly how you see a losing trade, a failure. No, that was a tax on your participation in the marketplace. You can't escape it. The tax man will come for every one of us. And as long as you're profitable, taxes are a nuisance. I could go on a long, long rant about that topic, but you can't avoid it. And if you spend your entire early part of your career worrying about what happens if you take a loss or losses or go into drawdown, you want to know what that feels like. But in the beginning, you're trying to do everything you can to avoid that when that's the very thing that you need to have to test your mettle. You need to figure out who you are as a trader in that environment because that is the battlefield. That's where it all happens, folks. The people that succeed and keep going and make more money and are consistently profitable over a long period of time. Not, let me just get a payout. Let me just get a payout. Let me get my certificate. Let me get up there on social media and say I took out $1,000, 10,000, 25,000, whatever it is. Like that's the pinnacle of your career, and that's the visibility you have right now. When you first start, I need to get my first payout. When your whole mindset should be, I need to get myself sorted so that way my entire life is pursuing excellence. I'm not gambling. I'm not trying to go out there and trying to replace a discomfort, a depression. Like I'm physically, I'm depressed right now. And I wrestle with that. So I know if I go into the marketplace and I do what I'm capable of doing many times, which is club price over the head like a caveman and drag it back to my cave. I may not be seeing something, trying to do something impulsively to get a rise out of all of you on social media. And that will soothe the depression I'm feeling because I lost a loved one. So you have to be very careful what you do and guard your mind because if you go into these charts, they're like inks. If you go to see a psychiatrist, I've never been to one, so some of you are thinking, "That's what you need, ICT. You need a good shrink." No, I don't. They're not going to fix me, okay? But an ink blot is left to your own interpretation. There's no right answer, but a psychiatrist will take that information and they will be able to determine how you think. Where does your mind gravitate to? And in these candlestick charts, they're going to present what you are wanting to see. Okay. And that chaos, that randomness is many times the agent that is fooling most of you because you're taking something internally and you're manifesting it in the charts. I'll paint a scenario for you. When I was 20, I would have all these rocky things in the back of my head, all these Rambo type scenarios where I'm a one-man army against everybody else out there. And that didn't help. It didn't help at all. It was inspirational in the beginning. It gave me the motivation to get in there and study. And eventually I found out what I was supposed to be doing. But there's no sugarcoating it. And if you have pain, if you have loss, if you're sick, if you're just not feeling dialed in, if you just can't find your way to be focused on the chart, you're absolutely inviting and setting a table for failure. You're inviting it. So you have to be aware that you are going to do this to yourself. No one else is going to do it. Your broker didn't do it. The lag on Trade of 8 ain't causing it. All these little things. I read social media. I listen to people in live streams talk about it. Their chat window, and they keep hammering it. That means they're ate up with it. And that means that if they're left to their own devices, that individual will go out there and do something in trading, push a button because they're angry and they want to be soothed. They want to be reminded that, hey, you're not average. You're not like Carl. He's in there trying to be a career man. You're going out there and you're trying to get money. You're trying to get the bag. You want to secure the bag. You want to be a profitable trader. You want to carve out an identity outside of the rat race that everyone else goes and pursues. But failure is a choice. It's a choice, folks. Nobody makes you go in there and take another trade when you had a losing trade. Nobody tells you, hey, you just took 3 losses. It's probably enough for today. You should stop. No, they're not going to be around to do that. You have to say, this is it. I have to stop. I can't do it. I can't take another hit today, so I have to stop. Even though I can trade, even though I can put another trade on, I have to stop. Because what I'm doing, I'm getting more emotional about the results. Whereas my lectures and when I'm teaching and talking to you, the psychological elements, the tug of war aspect of being right and wrong, and both of them are toxic. You can be in a lot of pain while in drawdown, but you can also be in a lot of pain while being in profit and in a profitable trade. Some of you don't even know what that feels like. But when you're there for the first time, you're going to know, oh, my target's right there. It's just got to go 1.5 more handles. It's got to just go 2 more pips, cover the spread. Please, 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 please. You start praying to the chart. You're no longer an atheist. You believe in the candlestick gods. They don't exist. But all of that stuff that we do, we cheerlead ourselves. Come on, baby. Come on. Give it to daddy. Come on. You know, I facetiously do that sometimes in my annotations just to tease. But as soon as you start looking at things like that, you're inviting emotions, and emotions are going to weigh heavily on what you do in the future. How fast are you going to take the next trade? How much time will it take for you to take the next trade? Both ends of the spectrum. If you made money, I want to go in there right now and do it again. That was amazing. Let's do it again. When you take a loss, oh crap. I see this setup here. This is the one I should have took, but I'm not going to touch it right now. And it runs. Goes right to where you thought it was going to be. And now you're regretting it. You took a loss, real. Then you saw something. You were scared to take it, and it worked. So now you're going to impulsively jump on the next thing. And that will be the loss again. What's wrong? Is it your model? No. It's you, the operator. You have to have a way, and it's not easy, folks. I'm not saying it is, but you have to constantly remind yourself that you are the only control mechanism. Every account out there that you open up, whether it be a demo, a combine, or a live account, all of them are controlled ultimately by you. No one forces you to put a trade on, and no one keeps you from taking a trade. Fear and greed are the drivers in this game. And these are the kind of discussions that I get most people to say, well, you know, this isn't worth listening to. And these are the same people that'll be around on social media 2 years from now. And if they were asked point blank and they were honest, are you making money trading? They're not. And they have no idea what they're doing. They haven't even pursued one approach or anything. But they want to use social media just like a trader will use the charts and trading to replace whatever, to fill that void. Anger, breaking up with a person in a relationship, losing someone, getting fired. You're angry, you're charged up, and you want to remind yourself that you're human, that you're alive. This isn't the end of the road. I want to have something else to focus on besides this. Please give me something to distract myself. Well, a winning trade, that's the best thing to distract you, isn't it? It's not. I'm promising you this now. Even if you get it right and you make money, you won't be satisfied. You'll do it again. Now, let's segue over to how my son was handling himself. He asked his older brother if he could use a combine because he didn't realize he could do it himself. So Caleb let him, and he went through like 7 of them. Fail, 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 fail. Just doesn't know how to trade. He never really learned how to trade. He just recently this year sat down and said, look, you know, I want to do it. Okay, great. But he wanted it to be like video games. Get in there and it's just easy. And he realizes that there is a cause and effect. That even though you might be on these live Xbox, you know, games where you're playing with other people and you can hear them talking to you and they can talk smack to you or whatever, you're by yourself here. You're in your room all by yourself. There's no echo. There's no one heckling you. It's just you. And when you don't do things correctly, you see the instant feedback that you are not correct. As a young man, used to doing well in the things he does, Well, I'm going to do it harder next time. I'm going to go in there and do it more and do it more and do it more. And each time, fail, fail, fail. Now, mind you, he doesn't know how to trade. He has no idea what he's doing yet. But he wants to go out there and say, look, I can even do this. Dad. Look at this. It's just like a video game, wanting to prove me wrong. My oldest son tried to do this, crypto. Didn't work. You can talk yourself into, as a young man, you can talk yourself into thinking you can do a whole lot more than you really can. And again, I go back to, this is the reason why females are better traders. Gentlemen, you're bigger risk takers. And that your risk taking aspect that males usually have is all about measuring up. I never look at over leveraged trades and whatever bankroll that comes from that, that is intermittent success. That to me is absolutely bullshit. That's equivalent to someone to go out to casinos, pull down the arm of what's it called, a jackpot. I can never remember the name of these damn things. It's right on to my tongue, but you know what I'm talking about. It's equivalent to any of that, gambling. And you win. Where's the skill in that? Anybody that would have had an over leveraged trade in that circumstance and they're correct. Oh, great. That doesn't mean that you're a good trader. Females, and my best student is a woman. This person and everyone like her, they're not out there trying, and you all want to know who she is, and she's not interested in talking to you. She's just living her life, doing what she wants to do, and she's extremely private. But she's never one time said, hey, Michael, check this out. Boom, look at that. Never, not one time. I had to ask her. I had to. And I felt uncomfortable asking her, can you show me what you've been doing? And she was modest about it. Like, she was apprehensive. Like, I really don't want to, because she thought that me seeing what her results were wasn't going to be enough in my eyes, and it would give her something to be concerned about. And when I saw her results, I was like, what the hell? That's amazing. That's really good, which was great. But she didn't take that and say, that's right, Tarzan. Look at me. They want that. I don't want it. And for the folks that are talking about it, yes, I am absolutely stopping in November. I don't need this. I don't like this. All the attention, all the adoration just doesn't feel right for me. I don't like it. So I'm just trying to get through it. And in November, I'm going back to my personal life. But my son wrestled with wanting to be right. He wanted to be able to come back and say, Dad, I did this, did this, did this, and then I figured it out, and this is what I did. Now I can do it. And his explanations were, I just wanted to get through that part where you get funded. I just want to get through that part fast. And I told him, I said, well, what you were doing, did you understand what you were doing by doing the maximum amount of trading today? Even though they say they will let you do it, that's not good advice. That's like a drug dealer, saying, hey, look, I got some weed for you, but if you really want to go high, got some, hello, left to their own devices, someone that's really on the edge of just wanting to do the most extreme thing, they're going to do the most extreme thing. And that's not helping that person. Okay. That's not a help. That's not someone out there. That's not a company saying, we want to help you make money. So here, trade 15 contracts. You can only really lose $3,000, but hell, try 15 contracts. We're your friend. We're looking out for you. No, you're not. The statistics will absolutely guarantee that that person is going to do that stuff. They're going to touch the thing they're not supposed to touch. They're going to walk in, like me. Sign on grass says don't walk on the grass. Well, I'm moonwalking on it. That's human nature. It's absolutely human nature. And I understand, what he's trying to do. And it's like, I guess if I would have had my father, or if I had my grandfather, alive at the time when I was, first learning how to do this stuff, he had passed away already, so I didn't have that. And I would have tried to do those same things to try to impress him. But that's the part that just gets you in the door. That gets you to the dance. And I don't think that I would have recognized the trap at the time as a 20-year-old. If I would have been met with initial success in doing those things. I'm glad that I failed. I'm glad. I'm glad that happened to me because I have a personality disorder that would have allowed me to never really learn if I wouldn't have had that first initial shock and pain. It wasn't enough for me to say, oh, I'm never trading again. It just means, okay, this is a whole lot more than I thought it was going to be. I lost 50% of my trade in one night, in one sleep, from one going to bed and one rising up. When that orange juice market opened up, I had lost 50% of that option. The premium I paid for that, I lost it overnight. And while I knew that was immediate, I didn't know what I was doing. I need to pull out, take the loss, and go back and figure out what I did wrong. Learn how to trade. Most of you probably wouldn't have never done that. I'm glad that happened. So the way you avoid failure ultimately, let me define it for you. Failing is you're never doing it again. That means you failed. You're not failing if you go out there and you try to study and you forward test and you blow your demo account. That's not failing. You're learning so much, but you just don't have a way of measuring it right now. You see it as I'm never learning how to do this. I'm never going to be able to get this. I can't get past this threshold. What's my barrier? Why can't I learn this quicker? That's the thing that you're doing. And here's the amazing thing that you don't realize. Everybody goes through that. I went through it. Dozens of times I quit. Dozens of times. But in reality, in my heart, if you were asking me at the time, because there's nobody there next to me when I was 20 years old, I didn't have a buddy, a study partner to say, hey, look, stay encouraged. My encouragement was getting up and going to work again the next day. And I was like, screw this. I'm going in there. I'm studying more. I'm going to study more. I'm going to study more. So failure is when you ultimately get to the point where you're done. You're never doing this again. You failed then. You absolutely failed. You did. I didn't fail you. The market didn't fail you. Somebody else that's taught you how to trade didn't fail you. You failed you. You did. You stopped. You gave up. You rang the bell. You went home. It's over for you. So that's failure. That was never in the cards for me. Once this bug bit me in 1992, it was over. I'm become a mutant now. And I looked at these charts as a way of getting the hell out of the rat race. And I gave myself a 20-year program. 20 years. It's going to take me 20 years to get where I can no longer have to go to work. That's what I'm subscribing to. You'll never hear somebody teach that today. They'll laugh them off of YouTube. They'll never have a following on social media. It would never happen. You got to have 50 R or higher, baby, or nobody's going to your shit. Nobody's interested in you unless you're making all kinds of money, showing certificates and payouts and this, that, and the other thing. Or this person talked to you and this person interviewed you. All of that stuff is bullshit. All of it. And I'm proving it in November. I'm at the biggest I've ever been, and it don't fucking matter. I live this stuff. And when you get to be successful and you can do it too, you're going to remember this. Because the people that are still out there leeching on people, give me money, pay me, pay me, pay me, pay me, I'll teach you how to trade. They're fucking broke. Okay? They're broke. And you're going to pay more attention to the opinions of these types of people instead of just simply listen to a guy that's been here before and have taken everybody that you see now publicly. They're out there. They're showing you what they've done. The companies that have been paying them are interviewing them. You have all the proof now that there's no reason for you not to dig your heels in and study. It's not going to happen for you fast. I didn't tell you it was going to happen to you overnight. You have to submit to a full year. That's the minimum because you'll know if it's in you or not. And most people can't even do a year. So that's a person that's not equipped to learn. If you can't simply go through an observation of one full year, you want to be a surgeon? Do you think they let you go out there and 4-month program and start cutting on people? No way. You want to be a pilot? Oh yeah, go ahead and try to, see what you can do. Show us your best attempt here. Get in here, the $30 million jet. Come on, let's see what you got. It doesn't work like that. But this have it right now mentality, that's a millennial mindset. It's a flawed mindset. And some of you don't like it because I'll tell you, as an old head, I will tell you straight up, you have your head up your ass and you see things with a proper perspective and it offends you and it pisses you off. I don't give a fuck because you need to be corrected, not just in this, but in every aspect of life because you think everything's owed to you. In this business, you're going to work real, real hard for a little bit in the beginning. But that little bit, you can multiply and magnify that exponentially. And you don't even realize that. You don't need much. You don't need much. But you see these people out there that have leased cars, and I don't have a problem with leased cars. But these people out here, they have leases and they rent things and they go on vacation and they pretend that they don't live there. They pretend they make all this money from the marketplaces. They don't. They get it from teaching, they get it from affiliate programs, all that stuff. And I'm not kicking shit on them for doing it. Everybody needs to make their money. But my point is you're looking at that type of person thinking, I want to be like that. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be able to go into the marketplace, make your ends meet. And if you want to turn it into whatever you want to do, go for it. It's about making sure you don't need a paycheck. Not get rich. Look, you can take what I've taught and turn it into whatever amount you want to turn it into. The sky is not the limit. But you cannot, absolutely cannot, try to convince yourself that success is only that. That's not true. Because I guarantee you, if you were getting half of your bills each month paid out of your trading, you wouldn't call that a failure. You'd be thinking, I'm successful. Look at this. I'm getting half my ends met, and I don't have to spend the other half of my income on it. Now I've unleashed half of my monthly income. My surplus income has now gone up. That's a success. But it's amazing to hear some of you that reach out to me and say, look, I'm only doing $3,000 a month and I just feel like I should be able to do more. Dude, you just started 6 months ago. You just started 6 months ago. I know people that don't even make $3,000 a month gross. You're netting it and you're complaining about that. As a new startup, you've never done this before. In 6 months, now you're making $3,000 consistently and you're bitching about it. 22-year-old mindset because you are facing Instagram lifestyle. Sit down and say, you know what? I have all this stuff. I have these cars. I go on these vacations. I have nice this and nice that. That's wonderful. Now, here's how I'm able to do it. I'm going to go into the chart. I'm going to show you what's going to happen. And we're all going to watch it happen. They don't do that. They don't do it. They don't need to. You know why? Because their image has sold the shit that they're selling to everybody. And you're all eating it up. You're eating it up. And I've been out here teaching through the medium of a demo account. And I have made millionaires. Plural. What's the difference? I have that stuff, but I know that doesn't make you a better trader. I have what you're looking for, and it's boring in the beginning. It's all practical, common sense stuff that you know in your heart that you have thought about this stuff, but you discount it at the time. No, I don't want to. I want to focus on that stuff. That's boring. I want to have that jet set life. Well, you can have that jet set life, but you have to know that you can keep making the money to sustain lifestyle. Because when courses stop selling, when mentorships stop selling, those individuals aren't going to have that floss anymore. And you can fill in the blank with whoever you think I'm talking about, because I'm putting everybody's name in that. It's just the way it is. I get it. Image sells. I know that. But that shouldn't be the reason for you to go out there and try to do something. You should be thinking, I want to be sustained by my trading. I don't want to be a flash in the pan. I don't want to have a one-hit wonder. I want to go into this with the mindset that I'm going to succeed long term. And every decision I make about what I'm trying to study, why I'm studying it, what's the purpose of what it is I'm looking for. And whenever you get to the point where you've learned something from me that you can now be consistent with, unless it's the things like we're talking about right now, stop. Don't dilute it. Get really, really good at what you've been warmed up to. It might be the silver bullet. It might be just, hey, I got some old students that simply like, man, this is really cool what you're bringing out, but I'm still making money on optimal trade entry and I just don't want to change. You know what? That's wisdom. That is wisdom. That's a smart person. That's someone that is educated. And here's the thing. Here's the rub. Here's the thing that you don't understand that they do. They know themselves. They know enough to know that ICT's got all kinds of friggin' crack. I got something to get you all high. But they found their vice, their method, their model, their thing that makes them click. And they don't have to reinvent anything anymore. They don't have to step out there and feel what it feels like to be. I don't really understand how this works yet. They found themselves. And they know that if they tried messing with the extra stuff I'm teaching now, not that it's not worth it, not that it doesn't work, it's amazing. They know themselves well enough. They're mature enough as an individual that they know that they would wreck themselves and mess up the progress and disrupt their continuity that they have found by having one approach, which is what I've been preaching all along. Some of you that just warm up to me in the last couple of months, or maybe it's the first time you listened to me on, maybe the last few videos. Man, this guy's got all kinds of shit. What are you supposed to do with all this stuff? You're trying to bring everything into one market in any one given time. I don't do that. I have models. When the model is in price action, I'll see it. But I have taught you now 3 very specific, highly visual models that I think that are pretty easy to see. One will gravitate. Well, you'll gravitate more or less to one of them more than another. And it doesn't mean you're not a good SMC, ICT student or a trader if you don't really resonate with the other things I'm teaching. Just because somebody else that's a student of mine is kicking the shit out of some kind of funded account company out there and getting all kinds of withdrawals and payments and all kinds of shit from them, doesn't mean that that's the model for you. And that's very important that you hear that from me. They found their model. Your model is yours. And if you start making money with it, never get in the position where you're trying to talk people into doing what you're doing, because that shit don't work. I promise you it doesn't work. You'll have more people complaining that it doesn't work than the ones that'll step forward and say, I'm making money with what you're doing. Because when people start making money, they don't give a shit about anybody else's opinion. If you're really making money, if you're able to do these things, you're not going to go on my Twitter feed and talk shit. You got shit to do. You're making money. You're living your life. You're not hanging out trying to talk shit to me. That's just not going to happen. And that's what you want to focus on. These are all things. These are all decisions. These are all characteristics of people that will eventually fail. But the ones that do not fail, they're guarding their mind. They're looking for that one approach, that one model that suits them perfectly. Now, that doesn't mean no losses. It just means that, okay, when this doesn't work and I have a losing transaction, whether it be in demo or it's a live account, it doesn't change your opinion about the model being effective. And as a new student or a new trader, that's an uncomfortable statement because it's hard for you to reason with that and think, hey, I just lost money. Why should I feel good about that? Because you did more than you did. And you also know that you're not going to go in there recklessly and just try to get it back, because that silver bullet, that model 2022, that optimal trade entry isn't in the chart anymore right now. You have to wait for the next setup. Guess what that does? That instills patience. What are you being patient for? I'm waiting for my model. I'm waiting for the time of the day when my model will be in out of here. We literally can set our watches to the setups I'm teaching you. We know when they're going to form. We know. It doesn't mean that every setup is 100%. And when it does not pan out, you stop, reassess. Is there still time? I'm still in the time window. Is there a new, same type of model, same setup? Is there a new one forming? If it did, less risk, half of what you just took leverage on, half the risk. And try it again. If you lose there, you stop for the day. Don't even come back for the afternoon. And then the next day, you reset and start all over again. Now, 99% of Twitter, Instagram traders, they don't think like that. They don't have any capacity for it. They don't even understand that you can sit down and expect between a certain time window of a beginning and an ending. There will be a trade form between this time and that time. It will absolutely form. My model will be in that 60 minutes. It's absolutely going to be there, and I'm here for it. I'm showing up the work. Here it is. I'm here. I'm not trying to fail. And you're learning how to do that for free. And you're seeing your brothers and sisters in this community making bank, real money, not demo dollars. And they all learned from me, the demo baller. They learned and saw the examples I showed through the medium of a demo. Because if I teach you through a demo, number one, I'm protected. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. And the people that did the math on this and figured out, well, if this stuff works in a demo and I can get good at it consistently with a demo, there might be a day where I wake up and say, let me try it with real money. And you did that on your own. And all the success is yours. Equally so, on the other side of that coin, if you do it prematurely and you lose money, you eat that. And some of you aren't prepared for responsibility. You want to be able to hold on to that. Well, I'm going to blame that guy. I'm going to blame that book. That video series he didn't teach me that part and I lost and it's his fault. That's bullshit. That's somebody that's not equipped to do this because you're going to lose money. You're going to absolutely, guaranteed, no matter what you trade with, you're going to lose money. Nobody does it 100%. And you have to be prepared for that. Or welcome and invite failure. Don't rush to get through that funded combine challenge. Okay. It's literally laughable. And I keep reminding my son, look, these things that you try to do, they're not working for you because you're trying to push too hard. You're not listening. And the time that you're trying to save, you're compounding it and you're increasing more of it. You're making it farther ahead of you in a longer distance to between where you are right now and where you want to be by doing stupid things that I've already told you not to do. But lessons like that sometimes, they have to really hurt. They have to hurt enough to know that this isn't doing it for me. And just because he's my son, and just because Cody, my oldest son, was, birthed from me, does not give them an advantage. We're all humans, and we're all going to do things impulsively. And you have to make sure that you're not doing things. And the market just opened up. I'm looking at it now. If you're looking at it live, E-mini S&P and E-mini NASDAQ, I have my chart up in front of me. The little inversion fair value gap that I had noted. Give me a second, make sure I give you the time. On a 5-minute chart of NQ, it is the 2:15 p.m. yesterday, July 20th, 2 p.m. I'm sorry, 2:15 p.m. on a 5-minute chart. I'm watching to see if that offers any kind of support. We already cleared that buy side, by the way. So it's kind of neat. I want to see how we trade now that we're open. I don't have a buy set, so but I'll talk a couple more minutes. Always longer than he says. But so in summary, the way you avoid failing is you filter what goes into your mind. If you are constantly feeding yourself Instagram garbage, image things, you're never going to be satisfied with your progress when your progress is more than ample. If you weren't comparing it with everything else around me, anyone else that shows you materialistic stuff, you're never going to appreciate the growth that you're going through. How guilty are you in that? When you think about it like that, it's silly that you waste so much time worshiping these people. I don't encourage you to do it with me. In fact, I hate it. But all these guys out there want to be called the GOAT. They all want to be looked up to. I want to be like you. I want to drive the cars that you have. I want to have friends ride around your boat that you don't really have a relationship with. Sorry, Pat, I had to throw that in there. The point is this. You can get caught up in all that kind of stuff. Okay, you can get all caught up in image things, and none of that's going to increase your bottom line. But you know what it will do? It'll prevent your bottom line from growing. And I'll say it again. All that image stuff, all that social media pomp and clout, that measuring up stuff, absolutely does nothing for taxable income. Doesn't do anything but make it harder to obtain because you're chasing image. You're pursuing image. There was a soda commercial years ago. Image is nothing. Obey your thirst. That's actually a really good slogan for right now. Image is nothing. Obey your thirst. What's your thirst? Success. You want to be able to get out of that cubicle. You don't want to be in that mundane job. You don't want to be doing those jobs, plural, for some of you. You want a better life. You want a better life for your kids, your family tree. None of that, none of that will happen by looking at on social media. You're chasing an image with people that don't even know how to manage their money correctly, spending frivolously on dumb stuff instead of securing passive income, securing generational wealth, all the while not gambling, all the while building an empire quietly, drawing no special attention to yourself. That's the way you do it. And I'm going to go back to that type of lifestyle in November. So you can do all your polls and question what's the odds of this guy I'm not going to be on Twitter in November. I'm not. There isn't going to be a future mentorship. I'm not opening up mentorship later on. I'm not going to have to come back and pick up more money because I'm broke. I'm not going to be broke. I don't ever need to trade ever again, folks. I want you to understand this. For the people that constantly say this shit, I've never seen anybody that's so rich that they can't trade anymore. They don't need to trade anymore. I'm fucking loaded. I don't need to take a trade ever again. I don't need to do it. That's the definition of being rich. I don't need to. That's what I want you to have. I don't need to go to work. I don't need to worry about bills. I don't need to worry about if I'm going to get fired. I don't need to worry about making medical payments on insurance because it's too fucking high and it's all a fraud, scam, Obamacare bullshit. All these pressures that everybody has. I don't want you to have any of that stuff. If you just listen to me and take the time to investigate everything, it's there in the chart. It's always there. It's not morphing into something hiding from you. It's there. But you have something else in front of you that's distracting you. Image, fear, greed. What's your thirst? Image is nothing, obey your thirst. The thirst is independence, financially independent. So we had a little bit of a reaction off that inversion fair value gap at 215 on 5-minute chart on NASDAQ. That city, that little blue fair value gap I highlighted on the chart I sent this morning on Twitter. I think that's 12:20 p.m. yesterday at July 20th on 5-minute chart. I'm watching to see if we can reach up into that. If we go back below the inversion fair value gap, then my attention would go to 15,580. And if we accelerate through that, then I would be interested in the sell side that I mentioned on the chart that I shared. But other than that, still no bias. But the point in this discussion was to just remind you that you're human, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to do things incorrectly, and it's normal to do that in the beginning. But minor setbacks, growing pains, stop losses that get hit, and you result in a monetary loss, whether it be demo or your combine or your funded account taking a hit. That's all normal. There's nothing to be afraid of. That's something more than it is. It's a simple tax. It's all it is. You are going to be taxed, period. You can't escape it. You're going to have losses. You're going to have losing trades. You're going to miss opportunities, and you're going to have real shit happen in the real world. And when it does, it fucks you up in your head, and you should not be trading, period. I'm practicing what I preach. I know my tendencies is very much about replacing an uncomfortable state of mind. And many times I'm in an uncomfortable state of mind every single day. My mood swings are violent sometimes, have been extremely violent. I can't change it. I can't bring her back. And the closest thing I can do is to get two more to spend more time loving and caring for and inviting into our family. A pet to me is a family. Waking up and you don't see that part of your family anymore, and you expect to. It hurts. And that hurt, that pain, it's with me all day long. So it's inviting me to go in to do things that would make me feel better. And when I had to get off of social media yesterday because I saw all these fucking asshats out there talking stupid shit, trying to get attention because they mentioned my name. that is the invitation for me to do things that I know won't give me the result I'm looking for. As much as, and if I was in a better state of mind, I'd be out there, toying with them. But I'm hurting right now, so I can't allow that. And you have to be mindful of that in your own trading, in your own personal life. You're going through stuff, and it's going to happen. You're going to lose someone. You're going to, maybe not have someone, and you are lonely. You want to get with someone. You want to start a relationship, and you're not having any success with it. All those things are perfect invitations for you to go out there and fail. Not right away, but that one thing that you do wrong, and you have a loss in trading, you'll amplify it. You'll nurture it and give it more attention, more of the same rotten fruit, more losses, regret, and this is going to feed itself. And that will push you right into, I can't do this anymore. I got to stop. And that's failure. I don't want that for any of you. But you should not, and this is my closing, you should not fear losing. You should not fear going in drawdown. You should not fear blowing out your first account. You should not fear that. Respect that that might happen, and that is going to be the instigation for you to follow rules. Developing discipline, keeping your mind in the game about what it is you're doing, not just going out there and just rolling dice to see what happens. I'm reminding you, in these instances, what's going to happen is probably what you don't want to see happen. And the perfect illustration of that is you don't want to see it happen, and you won't accept that it's happened, even though if you're in that trade that you impulsively entered, at some point, many times, you'll have that little warning sign go off. It isn't going to work out for you. And your conscience, which will be your inside voice, your internal voice, will say, you should never did that. Just close it right now. You're only down a couple $100. Just close it. But you won't. You won't. Because you are hurting and you want a white knight to come in and save you. And the white knight never fucking shows up. It doesn't. And one of two things happens. The market stays against you and eventually squeezes you out where you can't even tolerate it anymore, or you blow out. How are you going to feel about your execution, your decision to take that trade at the time, knowing that you shouldn't have done it? Then even in that trade, you knew you should have got out, but you didn't. You see how it easily compounds? These are things that mentors don't talk to you about because they don't have any answer for it. They'll talk about something that's in the left side of the chart. They'll sell that. I'm telling you how to navigate that hard right edge. And most of it is in between your ears. When are you trading? Are you in a good, healthy state of mind? There's nothing wrong with being excited. There's nothing wrong about being positive about the opportunity that's before you today, this trading session, this week. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. But you should not hop your, and adrenaline will come by either stress or excitement. If you have nervous anticipation, excitement, before you start trading, you need to stop. You're not focusing. You're at your peak in terms of emotionalism about what you're about to do. Don't take that trade, especially if it's a live account or if you're at the funded stage. If you have all this nervous excitement about it, immediately go to a demo. And if it wins, you have grown through a period of nervousness and excitement that you cannot trade in that environment. In that state of mind, you should not be trading like that. But if you're wrong, are you going to regret it? No. You're going to reward yourself and say, you know what? That was the smartest shit I've ever done. At the time, I felt like I was going to win that trade. I felt like I was really going to win. I was excited. But because I identified my nervous excitement and I was trembling because I knew I was going to make money. I was going to go in there and make money. I identified that. And someone with more experience, more understanding about how I'm going to fuck myself up doing this, told me, don't do it with that live account. Go to a demo. And then you lost. That's a huge milestone. But none of you are opening yourself up for that. You will never give yourself that learning opportunity about yourself and discovery about yourself, because the trader that is who you are or who you're trying to grow into, that's the barrier that you don't see in front of you. You don't see it. But that's the person that's holding you back, and they're formidable. And if you stoke their fires and encourage them to be much more formidable in terms of keeping you from growing, how do you do that? By allowing emotions into your decision making and chasing image. See, a financially successful trader, the best ones out there, you don't see them. They're not out there showing you what they drive, what they spend, what they dress in. They don't do that. They don't do those things. They're busy living their life, managing themselves. How do you manage yourself? None of you have the right to know what I do with my day to day. None of you do. It's never been my goal to ever have that. Because no matter what I show, no matter what I share, I could literally go through the 12 different bank accounts I got, and you'd shit and fall back in it and see what I had. It won't do anything for you. But there'll still be people out there. He went to an ATM machine and he did a balance inquiry right there. It came right out of the ATM. Oh, it was photoshopped. I mean, I'm not gonna entertain these fucking asshats. And you shouldn't do it either. You're never gonna live up to everybody's expectations. So why even start it there? Wait, what is your thirst? What is the thing that keeps you going? Why do you want to keep doing this? You want to do something specific, whatever that is, that needs to be right in front of you every single day. I am learning how to do this so that way I can pay for my college tuition. I can go to this specific Ivy League college and pursue my educational desires. I can quit my job and replace this annual salary of that job with my trading. Notice there's no deadline. That's the other thing that invites failure. You're trying to time your success. You can't. Nobody can time your success. You have no idea that one moment, with that one epiphany, where the veil lifts and you finally figure out who the fuck you are and all the things that you've been holding on to that you think are security blankets and things that are protecting you. When you finally put that stuff down, you realize that's the things that's been holding you back. Those scary thoughts. What if it does? What if it doesn't? What if you were wrong about your fear? What if you have been wasting all this fucking time worrying about things that never are going to be a factor for you? And you've held yourself back. What happens? What happens if you stopped worrying about that stuff and you just focused on the things you're supposed to be focusing on? One step at a time, one day at a time, and let that day's learning be enough. And it will compound. And you'll know more than you did yesterday, last week. Do that for a few months. You have no idea how much you know. Think about it before you sat down with the content I share. You never seen these things before, never heard about it before. And then what you felt that day compared to today. I'm not saying are you making, withdrawals and live account trade. That's not my point in asking you this. But your understanding about the marketplace, and more specific, here's where you're supposed to be focusing right now, primarily in the beginning. How are you internalizing it all? Are you feeling less rush to get out there and gamble to find money? Are you now starting to realize that, if I treat this like a business and I don't gamble and I know what I'm looking for and the opportunities are right there before me and I'm equipped and I have the resources to take advantage of that, man, I can turn this into a profitable business endeavor. There's a shift, there's a paradigm shift that will take place for the people that really are trying to go after it. You're going to fail. I'm promising you that. You will never get it. That will never happen for you. You have to go out there and backtest. You have to study it. You can't take my word for it. You got to go in there and see if it really is there. Because once you get to that point, you backtest and you see it, nothing, no ass hat down in Texas, nobody up in New York, nobody in Canada, nobody in fucking Dubai is going to tell you what you're learning ain't the real market. They'll never, ever, ever be able to convince you otherwise. And once you have that mindset, there's nothing holding you back then, because nobody can talk you out of it. You've convinced yourself, and you've been the person that's really talking yourself out of it. Well, I might not be good at it. That's a lot of fucking videos, ICT. 500 videos. Where do I start? Go backwards from there. And you'll hear me talk about go to Model 2022 mentorship. Start there. It gives you something to hit the ground running. Look at the silver bullet trade and look at the commentary. Whenever I'm sharing commentary, that's where your focus should be. Because if I'm full of shit, you'll see. You'll see it. And it ain't there. I talk about what the market's going to do. I show you exactly where it's going to go, and it delivers. If it doesn't work, you would see evidence that it doesn't work. If people can't make money with it, you wouldn't be coming out of the woodwork right now everywhere. I think just about every funded account company out there has my students in it making withdrawals. How many testimonies do you need to inspire you to stick with it? How many times do you have to see me call the market before it happens and it delivers perfectly before you feel like, yes, this is probably worth investing some more time and energy in, and let me filter all the bullshit. Let me prune my personal life and cut out all the extra weekend garbage that I'm wasting my time and money on. And you might actually get yourself in a position where you are a better person than you are right now. And you probably can't identify it. Maybe you think that you are everything in a bag of chips right now, but you're really toxic and you're ugly because you don't live a lifestyle that shows that. You're bitter. You snap at everybody publicly. Your friends probably can barely even tolerate you. If you have those tendencies, you have to overcome them because in trading, it magnifies that stuff. And the people that point at everybody else as the reason why they failed, they're living testimonies of what I'm talking about right now. They are going to spend the rest of their life doing that because they're miserable. This industry is a huge mirror. And you look at that mirror and you try to see what you want to see. And you ignore what it's trying to show you about yourself. And the smartest investors and traders are the ones that can identify the flaws and work on overcoming them. And then when you finally get to the point, I have a young lady that's in my mentorship that she had a partner and he left her. They were going to get married and they were planning a life together. And he got good at trading and started making a lot of money and said, you know what, I'm attractive now. Girls like what I'm able to do. And he took that and ran with it in a negative direction. He had somebody that was monogamous. I'm married. I can say this. The lady's beautiful. But because this young man has now a new skill in his mind, before he found that success, she was, I'm sure, beautiful, happy to be with her. But then when you start making that kind of money and it changes you, fundamentally, it changes you. You start thinking that you're better than you really are materialistically. And that's how the enemy gets you. Pride of life, lust of the eye. Those things will creep in. And it did for me when I was 20. And you think that every girl gets to sleep with you now. I'm so good, I got to get everybody the opportunity to sleep with me. And that's what this young man did. What happens if you are not in a relationship right now and you want to be in a relationship, but you're also struggling because it's a one income household for you and things are expensive? I can appreciate how everything's expensive. I got lots of money, but it still shocks me to see how much shit costs. I don't think about it until I think about it in relationship to most of you, because I know you're all trying to do what you can to improve where you are financially. But what happens? What if, okay? What if you put the time in and you build yourself up? Not overnight, it's going to take you some time, but you build yourself up. So now you can afford to be maybe in a different neighborhood, driving a different car. Not now that's sucking the life out of you like a vampire. And maybe you start exercising more and get yourself into shape. And then the guy or the gal of your dreams recognizes you now because you're doing things you would have never done. And here's the perfect position to be in. You don't need their income. And they know. Chances are they're probably going to treat you far better because they know that you are a treasure. You're somebody that they don't have to carry. You don't have to expect them to take care of you, pick up the bill, pay for our dinner, all the dates, expense, all those things. You don't have to feel like, oh, I got to take care of this person. Every time we go out, I got to pay the bill. And gentlemen, that's how it's supposed to be. But when a woman knows that she doesn't need that man, you can leave your wallet at home, Sammy. I got it. Let me tell you something. For me, that in a woman, if a woman can say straight up, I want to be with you, that right there, that's a unicorn. And some weaker men would be looking at that thinking, nah, I can't be with somebody like that. Right. Because you're a little bitch. But that's what you want to be able to be, your own independent wealth creating enterprise. And well, a scrub won't even test you. And you're going to attract a different level of man. You're going to attract a different level of woman. You live your life a specific way, a refined way, not that you're walking around like you're better than anybody else, but you just don't give time. You don't give time for the time wasters, these vampires that will suck the life out of you. What happens if you start living your life like that? And if you treat your trading like that? This is a conduit that gets you to a level like that. It's easy to feel better about yourself when you have repaired everything that's gone wrong in your life independently. No one has done it for you. Your sense of accomplishment and courage in yourself and self-worth and value go up exponentially. There's no way of describing what it feels like. And I love listening to the testimonies of my students that talk like this. That's what I encourage all of you to do. That's all I'm asking. That's the currency here. That's the exchange here. I'm investing in you. The only thing I want to hear is, what have you done with it? An email, a video testimony where I only watch the video. I have so many of them. And to see the transformations in people's lives. You think it's just money. It's not. It's probably listening to this. You're probably listening to it at your work, or you just came home from work and you're thinking, man, I'm glad it's the weekend, so I ain't got to do that shit for 2 more days. Whereas now you're learning how to become an investor. And while you will love to be able to play on the weekend because you can afford to do a lot more things and your mind won't be racing all the time, worrying about stresses of the world and your career and all that, you'll look forward to Mondays where most people hate it. They hate it. I got to go back to that sweatshop. I got to go back to that fucking slave driver. Carl's going to be there again. That whole thing is just toxic. And I know they make money. They make really good money. And they say, oh, I love my job. Let me tell you something. Okay. Given the opportunity to make 5 times your salary of the job that you love, and you ain't got to leave your fucking bed to do it. Okay. Trust me. You're not going to go to that job. You're not going to go to the job. So save. I understand that sense of, well, let's be honest. I don't give a fuck. I ain't got time to waste on that. I think it's bullshit. You're just trying to convince yourself that that's the way you go through life right now. No matter how much money you make, how successful you are, everybody given the opportunity to do better than they're doing at your job and not have to be there to do it, they're going to jump on that immediately. If they know that the same skill set that put them in that career, if they just did the things correctly here in this, your upside is unlimited. The upside is absolutely not capped by any salary ceilings. Every job has a salary ceiling. Every job has a salary ceiling in it. It's capped. Where's the limit in what you can earn in trading? I don't know. What is it? What is it for you? Because some of you have a number that you think can't be hit. Who says that? You did. You don't set the rules. You don't set the limitations on how much you or anyone else can make. But we waste our time thinking about these types of things and these what if scenarios and these stupid time wasting concerns. If you would have took that same amount of time that you did all those silly things or watched people that were really not investing in you, they're just showing off. If you would have took that time and invested in yourself and your understanding about what it is that you're trying to discover as a trader for you, what is it that you're looking for? Why are you trying to do it? Looking at the 1:30 a.m. lows on NASDAQ instead. That's sell side. I think we'll get the 15,580. And if we can accelerate through that, then I'll probably want to dig into that 547 on NASDAQ. I'm just looking at one chart though. So it's a 5-minute chart. I don't have anything else in front of me. But I guess I really needed this today. I'm still wanting to talk. I'm looking at that inversion fair value gap at 1215 or 215 rather from yesterday. It was the one I highlighted on the chart. I tweeted this morning. So think about what we see here. I had no bias, so don't take what I'm saying as beating my chest, because I didn't have any real affinity for one side or the other. But we went up, cleared the buy side, and then went back below the inversion fair value gap, and the inversion fair value gap offered resistance. We're in the striking zone of the sell side rate below the 1:30 a.m. lows on NASDAQ. There's a small little fair value gap on the 5-minute at 9:30 last night. So watch that. I have that one drawn out on your 5-minute chart. I'm going to do that myself right here. So we're digging into that now. But we ran out to the buy side, and I'm interested to see if it wants to take it all the way to the opposite end to get the sell side at 547. So the fair value gap I just mentioned to you on the 5-minute chart of NASDAQ, that is at candle 9:30 p.m. last night. So watch and see how we respect that one. Did we come back above it and act as support, or we go below it and sell off from it to get to the 547? We're at 10 o'clock now. Let me drop down to a 1-minute chart. There's a small little fair value gap up at the on a 1-minute chart on NASDAQ at 10:01. That might be interesting, because if you look at what we did above that, there's a lot of back and forth candles where it was trading into the inversion fair value gap. So for me, if it was going to be any good, and I'm not taking this trade, I'm not trading today. Like I mentioned, my mind and my emotions are high right now. So that's really kind of like the point of me wanting to talk to you today, because I want to talk about Bella and the 2 puppies we're going to get next week. So I'm trying to bring myself back into focusing about price. But if I was right and I did a trade, it wouldn't satisfy me. I know enough to know that I did something at a time when I'm not really focusing. And if I lose, it would drive me nuts over the weekend. And I wouldn't be able to think about anything else but that, knowing that I know better. I've been doing it for 30 years. I've learned these lessons painfully. So I have to listen to what my experience has taught me. That scar tissue, while it doesn't promote a lot of flexibility and growing, I don't need to grow anymore. I know where my weaknesses are. I know what works. I know the market. What separates me from everyone else is I know when to put the brakes on for me. And most of the people out there that's pretending to be a mentor or a successful trader, they probably haven't discovered that skill set in themselves, because number one, they're too new. They haven't been doing it long enough, or they're fake, which really cancels the whole discussion out anyway. But we're in that fair value gap I mentioned. 1 minute chart on that fair value gap is small, but it's on the 10:01. So if I wanted to see bearishness, I would like to see it, start to drop from here, and to be much more energetic going back below that fair value gap that I mentioned on the 5-minute chart at 9:30 last night. Something of a little bit more of an imbalance still on the 5-minute chart. It hasn't really completely come up to the low of the candle on 5-minute at 9:55 a.m. Just below it right now. All right, now we just did that. So in my mind, if it wants to go lower, it would want to start showing a willingness to do that now. Otherwise, any retracement back up into that 215, 5 minute fair value gap from from Thursday yesterday. I know some of you hear me talk like this when there's not a chart in front of me. And you're like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you just accept the fact that I'm sharing? Okay, I'm wrestling with something, and this is all I'm willing to do for right now. But as long as you have a desire to keep wanting to do what it takes for you to learn more, and I'm not saying this has to be me. Like if you get to the point where you arrive at the idea that I'm not the guy to learn from, I'm okay with that. I promise I'll live. You know, it's not going to hurt my feelings. Okay, there's people out there that make money trading, and I'm sure if you really make an attempt to try to learn how to do it, but you focus primarily on you because you're going to be the success or failure ultimately that decides the outcome. And so many people come into this industry and they love to hold on to that little card, to that out excuse why they couldn't do it. It's the person I learned from. It's the this, it's the that. When in fact, as long as you know how to manage risk properly, don't risk too much per trade. If you learn that skill set, I mean, let me put it in proper perspective. Okay, if you go through the pathway that I think is the optimal way of learning, which is number one, if you're going to be trying to trade, you have to discount all the bullshit where people say you can't time the market because we can, other traders do, and you have to predict price. You're not reacting to price, you're predicting it. So anything apart from those central tenets is bullshit. As long as you don't waste any time outside of those pillars of thought about trading, if you're an opponent to anything I just said there, you're fucking doomed. Okay, you're not gonna be good at this, and you're gonna be a one hit wonder, and you're never gonna have long term consistency. I guarantee you that will be the outcome. But assuming that you can align your mentality with that, the first goal is for you to identify where the market's going to draw to. If you can determine where the market is most likely, not all the time, most likely where it's going to reach for, that's the largest portion of the battle. Like that's the thing. That's the thing that makes this so impossible for the new students or a new trader, because you're looking at whatever time frame you're looking at, and you're trying to find a pattern or an indicator indicating something instead of understanding where price is trying to travel to. It's trying to go up or it's trying to go down. And if you can get that correct more times than not, what have you done? You have arrived at a bias. And here's the thing that you need to understand. There may be times where that bias is not obvious. What do you do in those circumstances? Nothing. You wait. You simply wait. What are you waiting for? For the period of time when it is obvious to you what it's trying to reach for. And as soon as you identify it and you know what it's likely to draw for, higher or lower, a specific level, not a zone, then you determine where you're at right now. Is it time that we expect volatility to increase? Are we in a specific time of day that is conducive for a sustained price run? Or are we in Asia where it's likely to sit around and do nothing? But ICT, I got 6 examples right here where Asia, I know that, but predominantly, you know that between 9:30 and 11 o'clock, there's a strong tendency for the market to want to do what? Move. And then have a retracement during the lunch hour. And that retracement may set up another leg higher or lower, whatever the morning session did, or a reverse. Those are all amplified topics that you want to tackle later on. But in the beginning, you just want to know where the market's likely to go to. If you do that, you're on your first steps to avoiding failure. Because everybody that doesn't know where the market's likely to go, they're failing. They're missing the point. The plot escapes them. They have no idea. So if you start there, and I have lessons, all my lessons teach that. There's an A video that says draw on liquidity, because all of my discussions, every example, every lecture is always talking about that. It's always giving you a little bit more insight about each and every aspect that is required for you to get good at. And here's the missing recipe ingredient to that: time. Time doing it. Experience is going to be your best mentor. That's why I tell everybody sit down with me for at least a year. And you'll know if you have it in you. but you're going to learn a whole lot of things that I can't sit down and say, you're going to learn this, you're going to learn that. You'll know what resonated with him. But if you understand that skill set and you get good at where the market's likely to go to, the next thing you need to understand is risk management. But ICT, I need an entry. No, you don't. Because you literally can buy or sell any fucking wares appropriate. Don't think so? Test me out in August. August is the shittiest month of the summer. It's big money goes away. There are moves in August. I'm not saying ain't going to be any volatility, but generally, symmetry, precision elements gets a little bit muddy in August. I'll show examples of it being there, but you collectively as a community should think, okay, August, if you're going to do any kind of vacations, it should be the month of August. And feel confident that being away from the month of August isn't going to hurt you. Now, if you have that skill set of knowing, or if you're going to borrow mine when I point to certain things where I think the market likely to go to, use a mic one, not a mini, not multiple ones, not 15 because your funded account says you can do it. Trade with one micro lot, one micro contract. And just literally, as soon as you identify the draw, determine how far it can go against you before that idea would be null and void for that session. And wherever that is, it might be 30 handles. It might be 45 handles in the NASDAQ. Use one micro contract. That's it, one. And get in there and trade with it right there in a demo, not with your live account, and put the stop loss at where you think it would fail in that idea. And you put a limit order at the draw. You're going to find huge consistency doing that. But I'm not making a lot of money. Right. Because in the beginning, it's not about making money. It's about you conquering your fear about doing it wrong. But you want to be right. And you want to make the most that you can make when you're right. But you don't want to lose anything. You've literally created this idea of trading in the realm of impossible. Because that doesn't exist. Nobody can do what you're thinking trading's all about. Nobody does that. I don't. I'm an inner circle trader. I don't fucking do that. There's an imaginary oasis that exists in the minds of traders when they first start doing this. They think that there is some way out there that they can always go in and get the biggest winning portion of the trade and always have the smallest, tiniest little bit of risk and be 98% profitable. No. You want someone to tell you? I will. No, don't do that. Don't think that. Don't believe that. When you're first starting, where your focus is, what you should be believing is the most important thing is understanding where's the draw on liquidity and work with that. Accept the facts that when you get it wrong, okay, what didn't you see in the chart? Go into your charts and really break it down. What was there that you didn't notice? And encourage yourself to say, you know what? This was a good opportunity for me to learn this about that. Not get mad and cuss at yourself or say, I'm never going to get this, because that's failing. You're on the pathway to failure doing that. Nobody gets to the winner circle being toxic and judgmental about themselves and not see the silver lining in what it is that they're trying to learn. You have to cheerlead yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. And that happens with a journal. A journal never encapsulates. It never gives room for that. Now, you can observe what you did incorrect, but you have to turn that around and say, I did this incorrect during this trade and I didn't see this. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to see what I didn't see then. Now I can use this as advantageous intel going forward. Do you see what I just did there? It's positive reinforcement about a shortcoming that you as a human being didn't have the capability and capacity to understand at the time. But you're not beating yourself up. You have to cheerlead yourself. You have to coddle yourself. Encourage yourself. All these things, these are positive self-talk. It's important because if you have anxiety or if you develop anxiety, and some of you will, If you start trading with real money, you will feel your first panic attack. It's a given. It's going to happen. You will feel it, and it will be scary. And that in itself is a learning experience. And I've had discussions about how to manage that too. But you can't avoid it. But when you know where the draw is and you get better at it and you work through those growing pains of not knowing how to do it right in the beginning, but learning to get better at it. And then you also learn how to manage risk. If you get good at manage risk and also know where the draw on liquidity is, guess what you have become? Think about it. What have you become? The highest probable outcome is you'll be a break-even trader. And that's a goal. When you first start, you want to get to that point because most people can't even maintain break-even. What does that mean, ICT? Like, what are you trying to get at here? In the beginning, everybody wants to go out there and start making money right away, but that doesn't work like that. Even with me training you, that's not going to happen. You're going to have periods of where you do well, and then one or two things happen, and you go into a tailspin, and either your skill set or your lack of control just goes into drawdown, and whatever you made, you give back, and you go right back to break even. You might dip below the initial equity starting balance of your demo, funded account, live account, whatever it is, but you just hang around that break even starting point. You make a little bit of money, and then you lose it. And then you lose a little bit going drawdown. You're not wrecking yourself. That's water. You're in the game still. You're learning that, oh yeah, I've had losing trades, but it didn't kill me. Yeah, I've had losing trades, but I was able to sleep at night still because I can still trade tomorrow. I have an account that I can still trade tomorrow. I can trade next week because I didn't blow the account. I didn't tear it up so bad that I don't have equity to trade now. You have to have that mindset about what you're doing, why you're doing it. But if you understand the draw on liquidity, where it's likely to go to next, and you do not impulsively take on large risk just for the sake that, well, my broker lets me. Really? The government lets us purchase cigarettes too, even though there's so many toxins in it. It's guaranteed that you're going to get lung cancer. Given enough time, it's not a matter of will it. It will give you lung cancer. Just because it's made available to you doesn't mean something that's good for you. The car goes faster than the speed limits. All of them do. Just because the car will go 100 mile an hour, is it appropriate for you to drive 25 mile an hour zone, 100 mile an hour in front of a school? No. But your car says you could. Why can't I? Discretion, concern, sanity. And you have to have that in trading. You can't lose sight of recklessness and the invitation that you are going to be given many times in this market. So now how do you get to break even? I just taught you. Trade it with the smallest singular unit of trading, even in demo. And you do this every day, and you condition yourself every day, and you learn more. Each example, each time you journal, you're going to learn more about yourself. That's the things that you want to discover. That's the most important thing. It's not about the tricks I'm teaching in price action. It's about you, because you're not going to spend the time learning properly until you correct those very deviant behaviors that you don't recognize right now that's going to prevent you from being successful. You don't see where that curveball is coming right now. Nobody does. But at the end of the first growth learning curve, when you finally get to your profitable model and you know what you're doing, when you look back at that point where you know you have something that is consistently profitable and you know what you're looking for in the charts to find that, when you look back at that point, you will see what you have done to yourself that made it more difficult and longer than it needed to be. And you will have to take ownership of that. And I talk to you with this idea in mind because it's always us. It's always us. And nobody wants to be honest and tell you that shit, especially if they're selling mentorship courses, because it sounds like you're beating up your patrons, you're beating up your customers, and you want to make them be all hopped up and encouraged. Yeah, I have discussions with that too. But I look at you because I'm talking to my kids. I'm talking to you with the father role in mind. I want to see you do well. And I've fucked up a lot. And I've learned very, very expensive lessons that you can't get from these dollar mentorships. Okay. These guys out there that just started this, you're not going to learn anything from them. You're not. There's nothing wrong with appreciating their approach to trying to do it on their own. There's nothing wrong with that. And if they want to pay a subscription based, fee to observe them doing that, okay, call it that. But don't call it a mentorship because you're not really teaching anything. You're discovering yourself still, and you're fleecing people in their ignorance and their pursuit to try to get there fast. And I'm trying to be a voice of reason for people. I'm not 20 years old. I've been here for a while, and I've seen a lot of things, and I'm able to do a lot of things that most of these folks probably will never be able to do in their life. And the topics that matter most to traders' development are the boring ones. That's the foundation. Knowing where price is going to go, that's the first mystery that you have to solve in trading. Anybody that tells you that your job is not to try to predict price is a fucking moron. They're fucking stupid moron. They have no business trying to be a fucking educator. You have no business even speaking on the matter of trying to teach anybody. If you're trying to tell somebody that their job is not to try to predict price, when the whole fucking point of trading is predicting an entry point and hoping that you're right in the directional bias that you entered on. Otherwise, what the fuck are you doing? What is it that you're doing? If you're not trying to predict the future fucking transaction of price going higher or lower and being positioned to profit from that, what the fuck do you call what you're doing? What is it? Because where I'm from, that's fucking gambling. It's fucking gambling. I am not a gambler. I'm looking in there. I said, okay, there's a real reason for the market to go up there. Why? There's a huge pool of liquidity in the form of buy stops. There's a huge pool of liquidity in the form of sell stops. It hasn't been there in recent times. And we have seen the other side of that liquidity matrix tapped multiple times, and it's not showing a willingness to want to go in that direction anymore. So what's it going to do? It's going to revert back to the opposing side of liquidity, replace with liquidity inefficiency. The same thing's happening. The mechanism for these price engines are going to be on the basis of two fucking things: inefficiency above or below the marketplace. That's a fair value gap, or real gap. What's a real gap? Opening range gap. A new week opening gap where there's no transactions made between two price points, or above old highs for buy side or below old lows for sell side. That's it, folks. And once you understand what it is that you're looking for and reaching for, you can go into these moves and look at where points of entry can be made. And in the beginning, it's important for you to identify the fact that they don't have to be perfect. But you are expecting perfect in the beginning, and you can't obtain that. I can't deliver that to you. You are messing it up in the beginning. I messed it up. Everybody that ever learns from me in the future, they're never gonna be, oh, if I did a 2024 or 2025, ICT comes out of fucking retirement. Boom, here it is. He was a liar. He's coming back and doing mentorships again. If that was to happen, and it's never gonna happen. In Jesus' name, I'm telling you, that is never happening. But if I were able to do that again, that batch of people that would come to me would not learn it faster, better. I wouldn't have another way of telling you these things, would be the same things I would be telling them. But you're asking me to open up a mentorship. I'm literally talking to you right here, unmonetized. I'm mentoring you right now, and you can't even identify it. You can't even recognize the fact that I'm mentoring you right now. But because you didn't pay me, you feel like you're not doing it, or it isn't happening. These are the things that you're supposed to learn. These are the things that you're supposed to be looking for. What's the point of you watching my videos or listening to me talk about it unless you're going to put it to practice? That's a terrible waste of time. If you're just listening to me and you're not doing anything with the things I'm telling you to focus on, train yourself, test, build a back testing log of journaled entries and exits and things that you studied in old hindsight moves. If you're not doing those things, you're wasting your time. And that's horrible. Why would you want to do that? Time is something that we don't get more of. And my time is fucking expensive. There's a whole lot of things I could be doing right now instead of talking to all of you. I'm not getting monetized for this. I'm not getting any reward for it, except for I know I'm talking to somebody. Somebody in this community right now that's hearing this. You may be listening to it in the future. You're not listening to it July 21st, 2023. But it's found you. You needed to hear these things. I can tell you this much. When I was 20, I needed to hear these things. But I didn't know that I needed to hear it then. Because I was worried about entries. I got to find an entry technique. We're getting ready to blow out that sell side, by the way. Went all the way back up to that inversion fair value gap again. Lost my train of thought. Give me a second to get a drink. 45-minute session, remember? Good old ICT. Over delivers. Anyway, failure is a choice. Okay. And if you learn how to determine why should the market go to a specific level? Okay. If you can identify both ends of the perspective or spectrum. Okay. And what does that mean? Well, this morning I sent you a tweet on the NASDAQ. I'll give you one market to watch. I wanted to focus on one market. And why did I only pick one market? Why am I not looking at ES? Why am I not looking at Eurodollar? Why not cable? Wasn't cable the favorite pair of you in trading forex? And why aren't you looking at the dollar index? And why don't you ever talk about the Dow? Why don't you worry about what I'm talking about and focus like I'm trying to keep my focus? You ever consider that? You ever ask, well, let me see what I can get from just following whatever he's looking at right now? That's what I always ask when I see people complaining about. Why don't you ever talk about gold? Gold is highly manipulated. Okay, you literally are asking to get burned trading gold. I know there's a lot of people out there with, they're fake brokers. They're going to show you examples of gold and this and gold and that. Gold is an event-driven market. So what I do is I take my students into highly liquid asset classes. Forex was my cup of tea for a long period of time, but I took everybody's attention back to where I started as a trader in 1992, commodities and futures index. These markets are absolutely professional. There's no tomfoolery in that. There's no brokers fucking with your spread. Okay. Everybody has the same price. Everybody has the same price when we're looking at the S&P. Everybody has the same price on NASDAQ, unless you're trading a CFD, which I don't do that. But I know some of you can't do it, and that's the only way you can do it. But you're met with that conundrum now, aren't you? You have to deal and factor in spread. So how do you overcome that fear? ICT, I'm worried about because, sometimes the data doesn't match. Right. Well, think about what I already said. You first start worrying about, well, no, I shouldn't say worrying. You should concern yourself with where the market's likely to draw to. That is the absolute golden ticket. Because if you know how to do that, given enough time, you will find a entry model that you'll love taking. It makes perfect sense for you. It meets and agrees with your personality. No matter how much money I show I can make with one PD array or another, it won't matter to you. That's maturity. That means that you have found your model. You're not trying to leave what you found. You're now blooming where you're planted. That's the endeavor that all of you should be aspiring to do. That's what I'm trying to coach you all into doing. Not try to make you a master of everything I'm teaching. That's not going to happen. Okay. You need to find one that makes perfect sense to you. Warm up to it and spend some time with it. And when you understand where the market's likely to draw to, liquidity and inefficiency, the easiest way, folks, listen to me, the easiest way to get through the initial learning curve is to do this very thing. Every session, what are we talking about? Well, the market was going to open up at 9:30. I told you I was waiting for the opening bell, and I wanted to see how we traded at these points of liquidity. And I gave you the one inversion fair value gap. I want to see how we treated that. Now, why did I pick that? I'm sure you're probably thinking, why did you pick that fair value gap, and why not this time frame on that inefficiency? Why this one and not that candle? If you look at the range I gave you on a 5-minute chart of the NASDAQ, I gave you the high. I'm going to scroll back here. I'm going to chart to move forward 2 months. I gave you the high on NASDAQ 5-minute chart at 1:30 Thursday, July 20th, 2023. The 1:30 p.m. New York local time, I noted that high and the high to the left of it on the 5-minute chart at 12:50 p.m. So for the symbol in the trading view, it's NQU2023. 5-minute time frame. I put a horizontal line on the 12:50 p.m. from yesterday, Thursday, July 20th, and laid it on top of the relative equal high, which is at 1:30, Thursday, July 20th, all on a 5-minute basis. Then I highlighted the fair value gap above it on the 12:20 5-minute candle in NASDAQ. That's what that little blue shaded area was. And I gave you the liquidity in the form of buy side at 15,714 3/4. And I highlighted the sell side liquidity at 15,547 even. Now, between the low on the 5-minute chart at 325 yesterday, where I have the sell side liquidity annotated, and I'm talking about a chart I tweeted, and then the high of 11:35 a.m. yesterday. So I'm showing you a specific range, and I showed the buy side liquidity inside that range. Now, think about what I said in the tweet. I said I have no bias right now. That means, can I trade? Can you trade without a bias? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can trade all these small little minor fluctuations inside that range between the 11:35 high in NASDAQ of yesterday to the low of NASDAQ at 3:25 p.m. That range, if you divide that in quadrants, that's grading a price swing. Okay, I have a lesson on that on my YouTube channel. In terms of premium and discount, if you put your fib on that high to that low, I highlighted inside the range from the low at 325 back up to the high at 11:35, and this is all in a 5-minute chart. I showed you the internal range buy side liquidity at 15,714 and 3/4. What I'm saying, or what I'm drawing your attention to, is I didn't expect, because with no bias, I'm not saying that I think that we're going to go back above 15,800 at the time I tweeted that. And I wasn't certain if they wanted to take us below sell side liquidity yet. So I wanted to see how we traded going into the 9:30 opening bell. But I shared with you the imbalance inside of that range that has my attention. It's that inversion fair value gap. It's like a, I don't know what you would call that color. Give me all of your opinion about what that color is. The fair value gap that I highlighted on the 5-minute chart. My wife's told me so many times I'm colorblind. I mean, I don't know. But the candle was 2:15 p.m. Thursday, July 20th, 2023. On the chart that I tweeted, I always call it like an orange, but every time I say it out loud, orange, and I see it, I don't think that's I don't think it's a good description of what hue that is. But what color would you call that? And whatever you guys collectively get to as a majority, I'll refer to it as that. It doesn't look like an orange now that I'm talking about it, but that imbalance, notice that it's been utilized multiple times here. So if you take your Fibonacci and you drop your fib on the low of the 5-minute candle at 2:10 yesterday p.m., that low comes in at 15,665 and a half. And then you highlight the high on candle 2:20 p.m. on July 20th, 2023 of the 5-minute chart on NASDAQ. And that high comes in at 15,644 even. If you drop your fib on that, on those two price points, and you add the quadrants, the 0.25, the 0.75, and the 0.50, that'll give your 4 gradient levels: the actual high, the upper quadrant, the midpoint, the lower quadrant, and the low of that SIBI, or sell side imbalance buy side efficiency. If you do that, look at how price reacted off of each one of those levels. But notice that we ran for the buy side first. So that 15,714 and 3/4, once it hit that, what would be the opposing draw on liquidity? What was in the chart that I showed you? The 15,547 and a half. I'm sorry, and even. It's not a half, I'm sorry. So 15,547 even. That's where sell side is, below that. So at 9 o'clock, we went up there at 9:05 above the buy side. And then at 9:30, we went above it. And then at 9:35, we did it again. We went low, traded down inside of that inversion fair value gap from the 2:15 p.m. 5-minute sell side imbalance buy side efficiency. It's the orange shaded fair value gap I showed in the chart this morning on Twitter. So we moved lower below that inversion fair value gap, and then at 10:10 and 10:15 on a 5-minute chart, it went back up into it, repriced to the bottom of that, and then did what? It ran for the sell side that would be existing right below the 10 o'clock low. We went down, it didn't get below the 15,547 level yet. But inside of that movement lower, if you drop down to a 1-minute chart, I'm actually saving myself a lot of time doing a video today. I was like telling my wife, I said, I'm probably gonna do a review video, but I'm that's not feeling it. Like I'm not feeling. I'm growing more into it now because I'm talking about price and it's distracting me from my morning. But morning in the sense that my pets are gone at the morning and it's of the time of day. But if we look at the 1 minute chart after, okay, after we hit the buy side at 15,714 and 3/4, what took place? Start at 9:30. Put a vertical line on 9:30. I'll give you time to do it while I'm doing it. So put a vertical line on your chart at 9:30. I'm going to walk you through how to backtest. And I'm going to piss a lot of you off because I'm not doing it with a chart. But this is better. This is better. It forces you to go into your chart because I'm telling you all the pertinent points of reference. We're all looking at a 1 minute chart right now on NASDAQ, and the symbol for trading view is NQU2023. 1 minute chart, NASDAQ, with a vertical line at 9:30. At 9:30, we have a Judas swing. It rallies from, where's it start? At 9:30, we drop down into that inversion fair value gap. Then where's it go? It runs right to the 15,714 and 3/4 level. What is it doing? It's doing two things there. It's pricing in the morning high during the opening range. When is the opening range? Between 9:30 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Put another vertical line at 10. I'm sorry, did I say 10:30? 9:30 to 10 o'clock. This is the only thing about doing things live. When you listen to it, and it'll drive me nuts when people ask the same questions. You said this. Why did you say it? It's just, I'm human. I made a mistake. So I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly here. The opening range is 9:30 New York local time in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning New York local time. So it's a 30-minute window. So that 30-minute window, we see price at the open at 9:30 on a 1 minute chart. It opens, drops down into that inversion fair value gap. Then it rallies up above the high that was formed at 9:08 today. So 8 minutes after 9 New York local time, that high comes in at 15,717.50. The high at 9:34, 4 minutes after the opening bell, that high comes in at 15,719 and a quarter. So we ran out that high that was formed at 8 minutes after 9. It reacted off of the inversion fair value gap that I tweeted this morning. Then what happens? Look close. Again, we're looking at a 1 minute chart. The market rallies lower and takes out the low formed at 9:31. Then looking at the high that formed at 9:34 and 9:35 that was above the buy side liquidity I gave you a chart with this morning, it displaced lower below a swing low on the 1 minute candlestick at 9:31. Do you see that? That price leg that makes the lower low at 9:41, from that low at 9:41 time to the high at 9:34, that displacement leg, does it have a fair value gap in it? Yes. Two of them at 9:38 and a higher one at 9:37. When you have two fair value gaps, what did I teach you with the model 2022? You have to factor in the likelihood that it wants to go into the second higher one. So your stop would have to be what? It has to be above that requirement for that fair value gap. So your stop would have to be at that high at the 9:34 candle. Look at the low on the 9:36 1 minute candlestick on NASDAQ. See that? That right there is the high of the uppermost fair value gap inside that displacement leg. Go to the left 2 candles on a 1 minute candlestick chart. You're going to be on the 9:34 1 minute candlestick on NASDAQ. Draw a horizontal ray, or I guess it's on TradeView, it's called a ray. Highlight the ray as a trend line. Click on that. And then go over to your 9:34 a.m., July 21st, 2023. Drop it on the opening price of that candlestick. Hang on here. Yeah, horizontal ray. Why did I say ray? A horizontal ray. and drop it on the opening price of the 934 candlestick. Look at the bodies on the candlestick of 945 and 946. It's respecting that, right? What is the low of 934's 1 minute candle? 15,697 and a half. Put another horizontal ray right at that. So you have the two bodies at 945 and 946. Those close and open inside of the two price points of that bearish order block with a fair value gap after a displacement lower, after buy side has been taken. Is that candlestick at 945 and or 946, is that not the 2022 model that I taught you last year? Yes. And then I mentioned at the time of our discussion this morning here in this Twitter space, I gave you go back to your 5-minute chart for a moment. I gave you the 9:30 p.m. Thursday, July 20th, 2023. The 9:30 candlestick on the 5-minute chart of stack. I told you that's a fair value gap. Be aware of that one. Go back down into a 1-minute chart. From the Model 22 entry at 946 or 945 candle, your stop would have to be above the high at 934's 1-minute candle. So it's not even that much in terms of range. But if you're trying to do 15 contracts on your funded account challenge or your funded account, that's too much risk. Now, go in and use that with that 1 micro idea that I was telling you about. Use 1 micro, use the worst case scenario entry. What would that be? Look at the low on the 936 candle. It's 696.25. Take 1 tick away from that. So 15,696 even. That's where you would try to get into your short there. And your stop loss would have to be above 15,719 and a quarter. So stop at 15,719 and a half. 1 micro, not mini, micro. You're teaching yourself how to trade. You're teaching yourself how to trust the setups. You're teaching yourself how to follow a model, not make a lot of money right now or at the gate. That's not how you do this. The movement from that price point down to that fair value gap I mentioned, around the 15,588 level. Look how it delivers to it here. And then what does it do at that point? Once it gets down to that fair value gap, and again, 5-minute chart, the fair value gap I'm talking about where it trades down to is the 9:30 p.m. fair value gap on the 5-minute chart of NASDAQ. I'm sure there's going to be multiple versions of this on YouTube. So for the people that can't follow along or getting frustrated, I promise you, if you listen to what I'm telling you the very candles, you go through it with your chart and you'll see it. It's there. But we traded down to fair value gap on the 1-minute candlestick we're on for NASDAQ right now. At 10:03, we trade into that fair value gap. The next candle we open, and then we start rallying higher. Where did it rally back up to? Some random level? The inversion fair value gap. The one I sent a tweet with the chart in it. I drew your attention into 10:01. I told you there's a fair value gap there. We have repriced back up to the inversion fair value gap. That fair value gap that I told you that was at 10:01, do you see how it's reacting off of it right now? We went from the fair value gap that I mentioned in this Twitter space up to the inversion fair value gap, which you knew about from the tweet this morning. And then it trades down in the direction of the sell side at 15,547 even. Remember, that's where the sell side resides. Does it need to go to that sell side? This is where the critics and the people that are selling courses will say, see, ICT's concepts don't work, or ICT got it wrong because it didn't go yet below 15,547. But what did it offer? Their sell side now below the 10:03 and 10:04 lows, wouldn't it? That price run back up to the inversion fair value gap, trading around the 15,645, and then it sells off. It goes below the lows at 10:03 and 10:04 respectively. So there's sell side below that. It doesn't need to go to 15,547 even or lower. I believe it still might do so, but for you to find a trading opportunity, do you need it to do that? No, because it's offering you the opportunity to take obviously a partial at the fair value gap I mentioned during this Twitter space. And then it rallied up to the inversion fair value gap, offered what? At 1017, what is that inversion fair value gap? Repricing back up to it and acting as resistance on a 1 minute chart, and then going lower in the direction of the 15,047 lows that we were looking for it to go below. Look at the fair value gap inside of that inversion fair value gap. On a 1 minute chart, it's the candle at 9:48 a.m. today. See that? Draw that out with your rectangle. Go on your trading view and highlight the candlestick's low at 9:47 to the high of the candlestick of, oh, there we have here, 9:49. It comes up, bumps the low of that fair value gap, and that candlestick at 9:49's high is 15,647 and a half. The high of 1017's candle is 15,648 even. So we went into that fair value gap. And it's also the inversion fair value gap. Then we sell off, running for sell side below the lows at 10:03 and 10:04, digging down towards the direction of where the sell side is. Then it runs back up into the fair value gap I mentioned this morning during this Twitter space. It fails to go lower below that 15,547 and then runs above the fair value gap, but goes into the one I was talking about at 10:01. So your 1 minute candlestick chart, the fair value gap at 10:01, 1 minute after 10. Remember I told you it's a really, really small one. Price rallied up into that and overshot it just by a little bit, but the high or the drawdown on or heat on that comes in at high at 15,620 and a half. Now, if you're looking for setups, and we've already taken 15,714 and 3/4 buy side, the draw is 15,547 even. Every premium PD array, everything that would constitute a ICT selling scenario. If you look at this chart on a 1 minute basis, there's many instances where you can get in. Do you see the one I'm talking about now on the return back into that 10:01 fair value gap, which I talked about live here with you? We reacted from that at 15,615 down to right now at 15,580. That's 25 handles. Do you realize if you did 25 handles a day one time in NASDAQ with one mini, you're doing way better than the average person working in Maryland. Well, not Maryland, but in America. You missed the fair value gap. Okay, you missed the fair value gap at where is it? 1 minute chart at 937. You don't see the model 2022. Okay. Okay, no problem. Go through your chart like this and identify all the opportunities the way I teach you. It runs for one side of the buy side or sell side. I don't know which one's going to go to ahead of the 9:30 opening. It could have very easily traded down to the sell side first. And then it could have set up an opportunity for us to then reach for the buy side at 15,714 and 3/4. You have to have an envelope above and below. You're looking for buy side and sell side in a range. I explained to you why I picked that range. If you go and look at the one trade setup for life, the context of what I was using that range with, I teach that in that video. I gave you the chart, the framework, what I'm looking at this morning. You do not need a Bookmap. Okay. You don't need all these things. If it helps you to see it visually in concert with what I'm teaching you conceptually, there's no problem there. But I promise you this, you will outgrow those things because you don't need to know. Like for instance, right above the high on 1 minute chart, above the high of 15,620 and a half, there's buy orders right there. I don't have Bookmap. I don't have all those things. I just know that buy orders have been trailed lower, and anybody that wants to go long, they're going to want to be a buyer above that. But my approach to teaching you is how to look at things very simplistic. It doesn't seem simplistic because I have a lot of technical jargon that people will say it's rebranded bullshit, but none of this stuff exists anywhere else. It might look like because I have a rectangle. Okay, I might have a trend line on there mocking retail support resistance diagonally, but I attack that stuff. All those, I don't look at that as support. I want to run to it and through it. Old highs, I'm not looking at that as going up there and act as resistance. I want to see it like a SWAT team bash through it, run through it like it's nothing, because I want the orders above that high. I want the orders below that old low. They're not sitting at the low, it's below it. So when I'm teaching you as my students, I'm teaching you how to anticipate, to predict, not react. I'm teaching you how to look at the charts and say, okay, I can see where those victims are going to get hit. Who's the victims? The people that have stop orders above old highs and below old lows. They should have stop losses. It's good. It's good that they're using that. But it's even better that they're doing it because we can attack it and go after it and use them for counterparties to our trades. Don't feel bad for them. You know, as a Christian, you shouldn't feel bad for them because they knew the risks when they signed up. Everybody reads those risk disclaimers, right? You couldn't tell me one sentence any risk disclosure gave you. You just want to get in there and make money. Same with them. They know that if they're wrong, they're going to lose money. But just like we talked about in this conversation, most people don't identify the measure of risk that's available. They only see the potential upside. And I teach with the expect that you need to appreciate that measure of risk and be respectful of it. Because if you don't, you won't be in this game long enough to really get good at it and then appreciate and glean the fruits that are available to those that know how to do it. So anyway, going back into this 1 minute chart, I gave you the framework on the two sides of liquidity. Okay. And without a bias, you wait. Which side did they run for at the 9:30 opening? They took the buy side. Okay, wonderful. Where's counterparty liquidity? I gave you 15,547. Now, in between 15,714.75 and 15,547 even, is it going to be a straight line from 15,714 and 3/4 down to 15,547 even? No. That's the benefit of using these lower time frame charts because it gives you a plethora of setups to either engage and trade with, demo or live, or opportunity to back test it. So right now, it's 11 o'clock. I want you to screenshot your 1 minute chart of NASDAQ the way it is exactly right now. Don't wait. Just hit that little camera button upper right-hand corner on TradingView. And you should see, let me count them real quick. I'm not going to do all. I'll give you the ones that you should know based on what I've taught on my YouTube channel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. You should see at least 7 potential entries, all shorts, using the 15,547 as a draw, and it doesn't even need to be hit to find profitability. If you look at the model 2022 entry, which was around the 945, 946 1 minute candles, that sell off all the way down to the fair value gap I mentioned presentation that we're talking in now, that in itself is a pretty handsome run. It's almost 100 handles. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a nice haul. Then it returns back up into the inversion fair value gap, goes lower, runs out the lows that were formed at 10:01 and 10:0. I'm sorry, yeah, 10:03 and 10:04, 1 minute lows, and just falls short of the 15,447. So the sell stops that are resting just below that level, they're still intact. I don't trust that they're going to stay intact, but that's where we're at right now. The live Twitter space. But then we run right back up into that fair value gap I mentioned, the note on your chart, all the way back up into the 10:01 fair value gap. And then it sells off once more. Going into what? Where was previous intraday liquidity? It was below the 10:03 and 10:04 lows. There was sell side down there. So what's happening there with that drop at 1058? Traders that had longs that watched it turn at 1030 and start to rally, that retracement is going back for them. That would have raised their stop loss up. That was below. They were thinking that 15,547 is support. When we've seen it turn go higher, they're going to be aggressive. They don't want to get a losing trade. They're going to cram their stop loss up just below the old support at 1003 and 1004. And that run right down there at 1058 goes back in that same old pool of liquidity. So it's digging down into intraday liquidity like that. You got to be really noting it. It's not just simply imbalances, or it's not simply, well, let me say it this way. Just like I teach you that inefficiencies are not one and done. In other words, they don't just get repriced and refilled with delivery of price, and then that's it. We don't worry about them anymore. They're going to be referred back to. That low that was formed at 1003 and 1004 on the 1 minute chart on NASDAQ, the algorithm will refer back to that again, even though it made a lower low at 1030. So that low, it doesn't know. Listen to me, okay? It's very important. The algorithm does not know how many orders are above or below any specific level. It doesn't need to know. Human nature is that's where the orders are going to go, because that's where you're all trained to put them. So the price goes right back down to it again, because the fact that we didn't take out that 15,547 even level, there is liquidity resting below that. It doesn't know how many orders are there. It just knows that it has not purged that area yet. It's called handshaking. Okay, so when the algorithm runs to these areas where pending orders would be, that function is called handshaking. So the price is offered at that level, so that way orders that would be there, it has no understanding or awareness of how many orders there are, but it goes there to permit the opportunity for liquidity to pair willing buyers with willing sellers. That's the handshaking aspect of it. Anytime intraday a low is created, but a larger pool of liquidity has not been engaged, the intraday lows or intraday highs that have formed before, in context, so you follow what I'm saying, the lows at 1003 and 1004 on NASDAQ are above the 15,547 even low. And the low at 1030 in the morning was lower than the lows formed at 1003 and 1004. That's a given. But it did not engage the 15,547 even level or below it. So what the algorithm will do is it's inside the range. What range am I talking about? The 1030 low and the 934 high. So it's going to look back through that range and refer to where are the swing lows. It's referring back to 1003 and 1004's lows. Sell side is going to be there. Why? Because it's coded to refer back to the 15,547 not being engaged, and it repriced to a short-term premium at what? 10:48 a.m. at a fair value gap I told you live in this Twitter space to have on your chart. Then it sold off to some random level. What PD array did it drop down into at 10:58? It's reverting back to inside the range an old low that would be utilized for anyone that would be long and trusting the 15,547 low as support. It's advanced, I know. How would you know that? Experience. You'll get it too. So anyway, the sell-off just from 10:48 to 10:58, that's 10 minutes in duration. And from, what is it, 614. 15,614 to just bump the low at 10:02, or 10:03 rather. The low comes in at 578. So what's that? 14. It's about 25 or so, 25 handles just in that drop. If you can find a way to get comfortable with taking 20 to 25 handles out of NASDAQ once or twice a week, that is enough. Really, you can do it just once a week, and that's plenty. And you don't have to be right about where you ultimately think it's going to go. As long as it gives you range, opportunity to get out of the move, get in the move and get out of it. What do I mean by that? You could have used the silver bullet off the fair value gap that was formed at 948. Okay, that fair value gap right there at 948. That fair value gap was used at 950. So trading down into the fair value gap I mentioned in the live stream or this presentation, from that point of entry at 15,649 and 3/4 down to the fair value gap, we'll call it at 15,588. That's in itself a significant price run. It's not 5 handles, it's not 10 handles, it's significant. Using that same fair value gap on the 1 minute chart for NASDAQ and the high formed at 10:17 a.m. today, aiming for the lows of 10:03 and 10:04, will we be below that sell side? If you sold short at the inversion fair value gap at 644 even, and then rode it down to the low at 578, think about how many handles that is. And it does not need to get to the 15,547. That all is like a magnet. Okay. That's how we're using liquidity. That's how we're using premium or discount inefficiencies. It's a catalyst to anticipate price going to that level. If you take a strong magnet, maybe you did this like I did as a student in school. If you put a magnet underneath a desk at school, okay, and you have a whole box of paper clips and you drop them above onto the desk, is every single one of those paper clips going to go exactly right where the magnet is? No. The majority of them will be scattered all about, but then you'll have this concentrated pile of paper clips that go right to where the magnetic field is strongest. But there's this influence that it has as it moves farther away from that magnet. The paperclip will fall right there, and it'll be just enough to hold it. Well, think about that magnet effect being at 15,547. And you're seeing how from 934, the high on NASDAQ, how we started moving towards where the magnet's strongest pull is at 15,547 even. And below it, there's sell side below that. Just like every one of those paper clips aren't going to land and stick to the highest form of magnetism that magnet is offering below the school desk at school. You're going to have this spread out array of paper clips that just fell, not randomly. It's being influenced by the magnetic waves of that magnet. Same thing's going to happen in price action. You're going to have all these little collections of swing highs and swing lows and a collection of candlestick bodies that form at specific price levels. These price levels, the inversion fair value gap, the fair value gap, and the ones I talked about live here, those are those distant magnetic field levels. Just like in the same example or analogy I'm using for in a real world, you take a magnet and you drop paper clips on top of a wooden desk, the magnet's going to draw and influence every paperclip within its field of influence. And we're seeing that same cause and effect in price delivery, but not randomly. See, you can't see where those arcs are in the field of magnetism that magnet may be utilizing, like orbits, okay? The influence of how far away from the magnet it can be strong enough to hold or influence a metal object that's light in weight. Well, price, it's going to react, but gravitate to this source of magnetism. And liquidity is that magnetism. The effects of how fast we get there, that's a variable. And that variable is understood based on a calendar, time of day, and what we have done in the present range. And what do I mean by that? If you look at the high, this is turning into a PhD level shit, ain't it? At 934, that high, and we anticipate, this is important, folks, the range high in terms of buy side liquidity, I gave you that this morning at 15,714 and 3/4. The low for the sell side was 15,547 even. So if we're bumping the buy side when no bias is there, right away our mind goes to, okay, what's the counterparty to that liquidity? It's the 15,547 even level where sell side would reside. So we can anticipate, we can predict. We're not reacting, we're anticipating. We are predicting that the market is likely, most probable, to go towards its opposing liquidity. So is this at 9:30, there's always some kind of measure of manipulation. That Judas swing, that fake price run that gets everybody hopped up thinking it's going to go because it did this first. Okay, I like the first move mentality, but it has to be used and incorporated in the proper sense, and that's why I gave you that range of where liquidity is and that inversion fair value gap, because it's going to be influential this morning, and you can clearly see now it has been. But that first initial run higher to the buy side, that makes it likely that we're going to go lower. So if we know that side is measured at 15,714.75, and we are interested in the liquidity that's below the relative equal lows on NASDAQ at the level of 15,547 even, if we put a fib on that high down to that low of 15,547 even, if we do, I'm going to ask you to do it live, okay? Do it with me as I'm doing it. Make sure you put your quadrants in. It's the 0.25, 0.75, and 0.50 levels. Okay, you should have them on there by now. If not, you can use the benefit of having this as a recording. So what I have is I have my Fibonacci laid on the actual high of the day. I don't have it laying on top of the 15,714.75 level. That's not what I'm doing. I'm using the actual delivered high. And I'm drawing it down to 15,547 even. At 9:34, okay, at 9:34, we saw buy side hit. Then it started gravitating towards the inversion fair value gap. I mentioned, I said, now watch, we want to see if it offers any support on an inversion fair value gap. If it doesn't offer any support, then it's going to try to gravitate down into, I mentioned, the lower fair value gap around the 15,588.85 level. To have that on your chart. The market dropped, gave us a silver bullet at 9:48. It offered entry on that at 9:50, but it also qualified a model 2022 at the 9:45, 9:46 1-minute chart. Using that implied dealing range. Now, implied dealing range means that we are anticipating a price run in a direction. So we're predicting price. We're anticipating price going to a specific level. What level? 15,547 even. So if we're up at 15,714.75, or seeing that shift in market structure that occurred below the low at 9:31, and it broke that low and turned higher at 9:41, we have a shift in market structure after taking buy side right away. All of you that followed the model 2022 that I taught last year on YouTube channel for free, that model is delivered right here. So what's the draw on liquidity? We're anticipating it's likely to go for sell side at 15,547 even. So if we use that frame of reference, we can put a Fibonacci on that and anticipate everything at the 50% level or higher is deemed high probability for a short in the direction of 15,547 even. That's what the algorithms is focuses. It's presenting opportunities for that very condition. So we're seeing many examples of doing that. You can see the model 2022 entry at 9:45, 9:46 on a 1-minute chart, where it trades up into the fair value gap after a shift in market structure lower. Then it drops down into the inversion fair value gap that did not lend support, created a sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency at 9:48 on a 1-minute chart of NASDAQ. And then at 9:50, it gave you the silver bullet entry. Where's the draw on liquidity? The sell side. It's 15,547. So it gives you another opportunity to get into the silver bullet at 9:55. Then what are we expecting at 9:50 to 10:10? There's a macro. We're going to expect what? Price to spool start running. For what? Sell side. What direction? Down. Okay, what did I tell you to look at? There's a fair value gap around the 15,585, 590 area during this presentation. It sells off and quickly runs down into it. Told you when we got there, okay, we're trading down into it now. It's all in this live presentation called to you live. And then I talked about a fair value gap that you want to have on your chart at the 1 minute time frame at 10:01. Have that on your chart. It reverts back all the way up to the silver bullet, fair value gap, and inversion fair value gap, which is the one I showed in the chart that I tweeted. I promise you this, the folks that are willing to go through this like this, you're the ones that's going to do well. I know there's some of you that are pissing and moaning right now. I can hear you. You should have did this with a video. You know what? This would have been fun and interactive for me if someone did this for me. When I was coming up and doing this live and talk about all the, like, that would be fun. Before TV, it was everybody sat around a radio and they had to listen and they used the imagination of character, development that was audibly storytelling, but your mind could paint far better pictures than any Marvel movie would have done. This learning approach right here, it may not suit you right now, but it will force you to go into the charts instead of just Netflix and chill with ICT. That's not it. You got to go in and literally dissect everything that is available to you. And when you back test, you're going to do this anyway. So if you're against this, you're not going to learn how to do it. But the market spools lower from 1055 to, I'm sorry, 955 to 1003, 1004. And then it rallies back up into the inversion fair value gap, sells off again, and goes into the 1030 low. We are meandering around. Look at the consolidations that are occurring at the 15,590.00 level. That's the lower quadrant level. It's also that fair value gap I told you before it actually became, used in price action. So before we drop down to it, I told you about that fair value gap. But look what it's done. It's around the lower quadrant of the range between today's 934 high to the 15,547 low that we were referring to as sell side liquidity. That's the relative equal lows from to the left of your chart. We have one reaction at that level at 1003, 1004. Then price finds use of that lower quadrant at 15,590. I'm using the Fibonacci level, 0.25. It works that level at 1034, 1035, at 1040, then trades above it to the fair value gap I mentioned on the 1 minute chart to have that on your chart. Then it gravitates lower, sweeping the lows that were formed at 1003 and 1004. Then it rallies back up and it finds support at that same lower quadrant and the fair value gap. Took the buy side that's resting above 10:48 a.m. up to a high that did not return to the inversion fair value gap, but it made enough of a price run without trading with a bias. I'm sorry, trading without a bias, rather. You can use all these points of liquidity, back and forth trading. But I want you to know that even though that there's opportunities to go long in here, it's better, it's more appropriate for you to filter those out and look for the shorts until we're proven that the 15,547 is not a factor for today. Now it's at 11:25 right now. So the market's been trading for almost 2 hours. I am questioning the sell side still below 15,547. It does not mean it has to be delivered. It doesn't mean I'm going to be right. I'm just suggesting to you that going through the rest of today, study and see if this market wants to gravitate down there. It may not want to do it before lunch ends. It may do it during lunch. It may not do it at all today. Okay. But going through the motions, you can see how we had multiple entries at the 50% of that Fibonacci on the dealing range from the 934 high to the implied dealing range low of 15,547. Multiple shorts were offered. 15,547 did not get breached, but it still offered many opportunities to get short and take handles out of the marketplace. 20, 25, 100, 70. Those are in this chart. Do you need a bias? Not if you know how to trade internal range liquidity. If you can trade internal range liquidity, you don't ever need a no bias. It's advantageous that you do, because otherwise you wouldn't anticipate trending days. And when trending days come, you will get burned trying to trade intraday volatility. Perfect example, like I guess it was last week, where the market just kept on moving, or was it this week? My mind's a little blurred right now, but where I saw a lot of people complaining how the market went up to where we thought it was going to go, the volume imbalances on the weekly chart, but there wasn't a whole lot of entries. There was a lot of entries, but not as many as you're used to and accustomed to seeing. So if you're trying to trade without a bias, it's something that can be done. But I don't want you to think that, well, let me just avoid trying to be good at picking bias or draws on liquid, because I can't do it right now. So, I mean, that's not wasting any time. I'll just be the trader that trades without a bias while you don't know how to trade, and you're going to hurt yourself. So I want you to take what I'm saying and measure it with common sense. So what would change this whole idea that I would not want to see 15, or not want, but I would think that 15,547 even would not be traded to and through today if we go above the inversion fair value gap, okay, and we treat 15,670 and trade above that. In other words, at 15,670 or 15,665 thereabouts, if it's using that as support and starts rallying above and takes out the entry that was used for the 2022 model that I was outlining this morning here on this Twitter space, in other words, the 945 swing high, then we're most likely not going to be even considering that sell side, and then it would be leaving it intact. With that being the case, if it does in fact do that, then I would be really interested in seeing an opening higher on Sunday, gap higher, making an attempt to try to fill that gap and start moving higher. That's how I'd use that information. I would not try to carry anything over the weekend, and I'm not saying that you should go long. I'm not saying you should go entering short here. So everything I'm saying here, I'm giving you context that way. Nothing in this presentation can be taken out of context. So you understand what I'm saying, what would cancel this, what would I look for going forward the rest of the day. There's one for you. I like the idea that we're going lower as long as we stay below that inversion fair value gap, basically, is what I'm getting at. So as long as that orange shaded rectangle that I put on that chart and tweeted to you this morning, that you should have on your charts already annotated, as long as we're below that, my mind is thinking that we're going to try to at least try to make a sweep below that 15,547. Am I expecting a lot of downside below that? No, but I just think that that would be reasonable to trade down there. And if it doesn't, if it just stays in consolidation between the high and the low that's already formed today, it wouldn't surprise me either, because I haven't changed my stance with this being primarily bullish. So I'm not trying to coax you into, oh, we're in a bear market, even though we were looking for sell side right when it was about to deliver the very day, and we've been going down since. So twist the knife, ICT, twist the knife. Anyway, I'm not sure what you got out of the day, but I felt like I needed to talk, so I'm glad I did. I feel clean now. It's like therapy for me. So this is, I guess, the part that I'm not saying I'm going to be on Twitter post November, but if I put something up, in any capacity, it would probably be something like this, where maybe sound, something to that effect, where I'm kind of encouraging you, because a lot of you are upset knowing that I'm not going to be as active. It's actually better for you. It's better for you to not have this many engagements with me, because you have so many things to study and so many things to discover about yourself. And every time I present something or produce something new, you're going to want to go to that and not spend the required time in what has been taught already, which is more than enough. You have way more than any one person would need to find profitability in trading any asset class, except crypto. I can't co-sign for that one, but I have students that swear by it. So you have no real excuse not to engage it and study it and discover yourself. And don't rush it. Don't try to put a deadline on it. If you do those types of things I mentioned here today, I'll avoid failing. You will lose money. You'll have periods of drawdown that you'll have to correct and get out of, like any other trading approach. You're going to have that. The important thing is for you to realize that you're not going to lose hope. You're not going to lose sight of what it is you're doing, because the why, the thing that you're doing this for, has to be more than social media clout. It has to be more than something materialistic that you're aiming for. And there's no better real reason to do it than financial independence. And it may not be a complete financial independence. It may be a partial, where a certain measure of your monthly income is met by this. And to me, that is a win. That's not failure. You know, some of you might look at that and think, yeah, I was hoping I was going to be able to quit my job, but I just can't get past, you know, $1,000 a month, a couple $100 a week. I just can't seem to do better than that. You're doing better than most people. If you can do that, you're doing most people often lose money. And if you can do any measure of consistency and you're able to take something out, like you're in the upper 10%. There's lots of room to go higher in that. But you already are defeating the odds that are against everybody, which is most people are going to fail doing this. And I can't guarantee that all of you are successful. I try, I work very, very hard. And I think it's obvious that I try very hard to help all of you do what's necessary and avoid the things that you should avoid. You know, there's a small faction of individuals that are not willing to listen to what it is I'm doing or take odds with me. You know, it's irrelevant. You see enough people finding success with it. They're doing very well with it. They're having fun while they're doing it. And that gives me a great deal of satisfaction, knowing that, my last year doing all this stuff, I'm making the biggest impact. And I don't discount that at all. So I try to be very selective, even though on the live presentations, you can see me swing and you watched me and heard me swing from one end to the next. I try to keep that from you in the recorded presentations, because I know it can be a distraction and it can put off some individuals that, you know, holier than thou. Oh, he's a cuss word. I don't want to say it. Sometimes it is to happen. I don't want to go off the rails. Sometimes you guys enjoy it. I don't like it. It's something I wish I didn't do. And in November, I'll never have that problem again. You know, I've exposed myself in ways that I would have never been comfortable doing years ago. And I don't want to give the stage for, you know, people with less character that want to make a mockery of it when they can't even do close to what I'm doing. So they focus on things like a child. And I have been encouraged by all of you who have given me the opportunity to be in your ear as a voice of reason, help you discover the opportunities that are available and what you can do with this information. I'm very proud of the people that have done well and had the courage to come out and share what they've done. Some of them a little bit more brash than others. And I get it. Sometimes that needs to happen. But largely, most of you that have come out, you've been very responsible with your success. And I'm greatly, greatly impressed by that. Because when you make that kind of money, and you've never done that before, it can make you feel like your shit doesn't stink and you're better than everybody else. And that's the trap I fell into when I was younger. When I was a 20-year-old, I felt like I owned the world and everybody owed me an attaboy. And they don't. And my encouragement to you is, while trying to avoid failure, you should be absolutely working towards being a responsible, profitable individual. So if you're going to be on social media, um, try to do your best to be as respectful as possible to the audience members. It's easy to get caught up in your own horseshit, you know, the spectacle, the showmanship, or the handling of trolls. I wish I had better ways of doing it. I've never been that refined about it, but I have done very well this year compared to previous years. It's because I want to go out on a better note. I spent a lot of time in my earlier years on social media being a menace, and I wanted to close that year of final teaching in a way like that too. But I don't need to. My students are actually providing the best testimony there is, and I've shared my life's work with you, and you were not in any position to be entitled to receive it. I've uh, I've seen some stories from people that have tried and failed, and those individuals, they stick with me, and I take their testimonies and I try to fortify any new lessons to try to overcome what they mentioned were barriers for them. It doesn't change or remove the influence that we have individually over our trading. That's it. Like, you own it. Like, whatever the results are, good or bad, they're yours, and you earned them on both ends of that spectrum. When you're doing this, it's one of the most difficult things in the world to do because it's highly technical. It's always evolving. Risk is always there, and you're dealing with yourself. And if you make it harder by allowing other people into the experience, whether it be your family members, your social media friends, or other people, it compounds the difficulty. So I try to coach you and remind you that you don't need to make this an Olympic feat. You don't need to be a Truman Show experience where people get to watch everything that you do, failing, falling on your face, finding yourself making money, doing withdrawals, resetting your accounts, all that stuff. You're inviting much more that's necessary, or even what should be even considered. It's bad enough, trying to find yourself in this and weed out all the problem things that you're going to have as a trader, because we all have them. And I've been open with you. I have things that I can't overcome, even as a believer. Yes, I know God can say it's gone and I don't have it, but for whatever reason, it stays with me. So it's not easy for me to be a mentor. It's not. It's very, very. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done, because I have so many people around the world that have expectations of me, high regard for me, and I'm trying to do my best. And even though I may do a really good lesson, and I may read your comments, and I see all your comments on the YouTube channels, videos I'm putting up, it looks like the comment section is open, and I got like 2,500 people saying, "First, why am I the only comment?" There's other people commenting, but that's just for me. It's like you sending a text message to me. I can see it. I see all of them. I read them all the time, and I appreciate the encouragement. And when you say, "I'm not sure if you see this," I see it, and I thank you for the time that you give me this little small feedbacks. And I see the trolls too, and you make it easy for me to filter you out. All I gotta do is I don't see you anymore, because I don't give a shit about what your opinion is. If you're not in agreement with the hive mentality here, that we absolutely believe and know that there's him, you're hearing him, and we know that there's market manipulation. We know that the market's going to deliver certain ways at certain times, and I don't care to hear the opinion that's opposing that. I'm not out for a debate. You have to go out there and cancel out what I've proven and what other people have used and now make money with. The burden of disproving is in your hands. I've already proved it, and it's been transferable. Other people are able to use it and see it, anticipate it, predict it, and it's a fascinating thing. Like, I can't wait to take my hands off the wheel in November and watch how all of you develop. And I know there's going to be mutants in this group that's going to try to become rebels, and they're going to say I'm a piece of shit because I didn't teach this, and they're going to pretend they knew something all along. It's all kinds of stuff like that's going to come out. I don't care. I don't care. I'm growing older. My life is going to be spent doing things that I enjoy away from the marketplace. I don't need to trade. I don't need to do any of this anymore. And when I'm done, I'm comfortable. I'm satisfied that I taught everything to the best of my ability. And there's no future anything. Whatever I put out in those books is going to solidify that I'm the author of all this stuff. And that's the final reference and talking point on it. And anything else you need to find is this, study what you have your hands on. I don't want to be on your talk show. I don't want to be in your teaching circuits. I don't want to be on tour with your things. I don't want to be on your podcasts. I don't want to be interviewed. I don't want any of that stuff. And it's not because I'm wanting to be rude to you. I want to diminish. I don't want to be going up. I want to hit 1 million subscribers. That's a bucket list thing I wanted when I first put a YouTube channel out. If it goes beyond that, whatever. But I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to be in the limelight. If I did, trust me, I would be all over the place, face everywhere, and talking and being on this one and that one's thing. I don't want to be. I get offered every single day. I don't want it. So if you're thinking about and contemplating contacting me, or you want to be able to email me, you want my email address to ask that question, listen to me. I don't want to do that. It's not about image. I don't want to be in front of the spotlight. In November, I'm done. And you'll have all the freedom and time to invest in what it is I shared with you. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it. All of you. It's not selfish of me to do this. You should want me to do this because I've spent my entire life doing it. And I'm looking forward to being with my family, away from all this stuff. I'll still be looking, but I'm just not going to be this accessible. Everything will still be up. You can watch it and study it, and everything will be there. But I'm not going to be engaging all of you like this. Truth be told, I'll be watching things on social media quietly, but I won't be allowed to do anything online, let's just say it that way. But it'll be interesting and fun, I'm sure. Look at the fair value gap at 10:01 on the 1-minute chart of NASDAQ. Okay, I mentioned that this morning during the live presentation. We worked off of the run almost formed at the 1-minute candlestick at, give me here, 11:32. So the 11:32 high, it ran out the buy side above 11:11. We went down, created a fair value gap at 11:33, and then we rallied up into it at 11:37. So that's a institutional order flow entry drill and a volume imbalance, or I don't know if that's a volume. My eyes are failing me here. Yeah, it's a small little volume imbalance between the candles at 11:33 and 11:34. It fills a volume imbalance and institutional order flow entry drill at the 1-minute candlestick at 11:37 just a few moments ago. And then we consolidated around that 10:01 fair value gap and then dropped down into the fair value gap I gave you on the 5-minute chart around the 15,590-ish area. Look where the bodies of the last 3 candles are. So look at the body close at 11:44 and in that small little candle body at 11:45 and then the low of 11:46, 1-minute candle. It's respecting that fair value gap. And then we're inside of a fair value gap at 11:43. So I would want to see it move energetically lower from here. If not, we're going to consolidate and probably run the buy side at 15,650 going into the lunch. So it's kind of like the last ditch attempt for the morning session going into lunch. If it doesn't drop here, my expectation would be during lunch, it'll probably want to clear up all that smooth buy side that's at the low quarter or quadrant of that inversion fair value gap. But I haven't lost my interest in that 15,547 yet. But I did lose interest in staying on here. So I have to go grab something to eat and take Bailey for a walk. Real quick, I had a guy ask me the picture I showed of my boxer at the bottom of my stairway in my house. That's Bailey. That's not Bella, by the way. Bella is, she's gone now. But Bailey is outside my door. I can hear her down here whimpering. She wants me to spend time with her. She has no idea what's about to happen next Thursday. We have 2 boxers delivered to us, 2 females, and she's going to lose her mind. I just hope she treats them nicely because between Bella and Bailey, Bailey was always a little bit more brutish. She beat up Bella a couple times, and I'm hoping that she accepts these 2 little ones. She's always been motherly with her toys, like even when Bella's been gone. And she treats her toys like little puppies. She carries them all to her bed and she plays with them and stuff. So I'm hoping that she'll mother these these two and not try to kill them. But I'm going to have my hand starting next Thursday with that too. So at any rate, I'm going to close. Have yourself a very pleasant day and enjoy your weekend. This is I guess, the Saturday shotgun, just done on Friday because I have a weekend of my family and my wife poolside. So I probably won't have the opportunity to do this again. And I needed to talk to y'all to get it off my chest. So I've had fun today. And if you didn't have fun, I apologize. And hopefully you got something from the discussion. If not, sorry. It was more therapy for me than you. And so I'll talk to you next time. Be safe.